Chapter 4889. Lin Xiaobai was Lin Feng's ancestor. He was also Lin Qi's only son. In fact, there was a large gap between the combat strength of the children of many top experts. The main reason was that the children of those experts were unable to walk out of the glory of their fathers. If they followed the path of their fathers, it would inevitably be difficult for them to reach the pinnacle of the realm. However, Lin Feng's ancestor, Lin Xiaobai, was different. He was an extremely heaven-defying existence. His father, Lin Qi, was as strong as him, but Lin Xiaobai didn't follow his father's cultivation path. Lin Xiaobai had once said something. "Why should I follow my father's path? Give me time, and I will definitely be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with my father." One had to know that Lin Qi was already one of the top experts in the myriad worlds back then. The 7 undying saints were so shocked that they knelt down. Even the overlord of the wasteland had to salute Lin Qi. There were very few existences in the myriad worlds who could stand shoulder to shoulder with Lin Qi. However, Lin Xiaobai still said those words. What a domineering declaration. These words also showed Lin Xiaobai's confidence in himself. As time passed, Lin Xiaobai did indeed walk a different path. His achievements were also incomparably glorious. Lin Feng knew that his ancestor had killed many cultivators from the lost races of the epoch, but he didn't expect that his ancestor would also have a direct confrontation with the experts from the Mastermind's world. The Bone Palace was built after the Bone Palace Lord was injured. Even when he was injured, he was still able to suppress so many experts. From this, one could see how powerful the Bone Palace Lord was when he wasn't injured. This also showed just how terrifyingly powerful ancestor Lin Xiaobai's battle prowess was. Just thinking about it was enough to send chills down one's spine. As for the Wraith Warrior Commander's claim that his ancestor schemed against the Bone Palace Lord, Lin Feng didn't believe it at all. His ancestor, Lin Xiaobai, was a peerless hero. Why would he scheme against the Lord of the White Bone Hall? "Master, how did you escape from Lin Xiaobai's hands?" Lin Feng asked. The commander of the evil spirit warriors said, "Fortunately, the Lord had some special means, so he escaped the pursuit. However, the Lord's body condition was not good, so he built this Hall of Bones and then began to look for some special cultivators." "A special cultivator? What does that mean?" Lin Feng asked curiously. The commander of the evil spirit warriors said, "It is a cultivator who can help the Lord recover from his injuries. Not all powerful cultivators can help the Lord recover. Only those with a special bloodline or physique can do it." "I see." Lin Feng nodded. Before long, the evil spirit warrior commander brought Lin Feng and Fairy Qing Shui to the 3rd floor. Along the way, Lin Feng and Fairy Qing Shui had been observing their surroundings. There were evil spirit warriors stationed on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floors. There were also evil spirit warriors patrolling outside. He wanted to sneak up to the surface quietly. It really wasn't an easy task. The commander of the evil spirit warriors arranged for Lin Feng and Fairy Qing Shui to stay in a room on the 3rd floor. Then, he said, "If you go further up, you will reach the prison. Don't go up there. If you are discovered by the patrolling evil spirit warriors, you won't be able to explain yourself." Fairy Qing Shui said sweetly, "Thank you for your reminder, big brother. I will remember it." After hearing Fairy Qing Shui's voice, the commander of the evil spirit warriors felt as if his bones were going to melt. His heart was burning, and he could not help but think to himself, "Little girl, I will let you know how powerful I am in the future." The commander of the evil spirit warriors said, "You can rest here. I will go patrol outside." "Okay, brother. Take care." Lin Feng cupped his fists. "Big brother, if you have nothing to do, you must come and visit often." Fairy Qing Shui said sweetly, I will." The commander of the evil spirit warriors nodded hurriedly. He was secretly delighted. This guy thought he was going to be lucky in love. After the commander of the evil spirit warriors left, Lin Feng closed the door of the room and set up a soundproof restriction, in case the walls had ears. He looked at Fairy Qing Shui with a smile and said, "I really didn't expect you to have such a charming side." Fairy Qing Shui blushed slightly and said, "I was just putting on a show to deceive that guy." Then, Fairy Qing Shui continued, "There is no time to lose. Let's take action tonight." Lin Feng nodded. Night was indeed the best time to take action, because the security here was the most lax at night. Late at night, Lin Feng and Fairy Qing Shui left their residence and went directly to the fourth floor. There were patrolling teams outside, and there were many evil spirit warriors stationed on the first, second, and third floors. Therefore, except for some patrolling evil spirit warriors, the security on the fourth floor and above was not very strict. The prison on the fourth floor was arranged in a square. There was a crisscrossing passage leading to 4 directions. At the end of the 4 directions was a staircase leading to the 5th floor. There were many prisons on both sides of the passage, but they had long been empty. Some cultivators might have been suppressed there in the past, but now, those cultivators had long fallen. Therefore, there were not many people in those prisons. Lin Feng and the others continued to look for the suppressed cultivators in the prison. They avoided wave after wave of patrolling evil spirit warriors. When they arrived at the 13th floor, they saw a cultivator suppressed here. This cultivator was a monk. There were actually 10 halos behind his head. At first glance, one could tell that he was an eminent monk. In the past, he must have been incomparably powerful. But now, his aura was weak, and he was so thin that he was only skin and bones. Even so, his body was still surrounded by Buddhist light, which was holy and otherworldly. He was chained by restrictive spell chains, and the prison here was also a restrictive spell cage. Therefore, it was difficult for him to escape. "You guard outside. I'll save him," Lin Feng said. Fairy Qing Shui nodded. Lin Feng came to the prison. When he approached the prison, Lin Feng found that his magic power was imprisoned. These cages that could restrain a cultivator's magic power were truly bizarre to the extreme. However, Lin Feng was not bothered by the imprisonment of his magic power. He operated the power of the dragon elephant arm and directly pulled down the prison door. Then, he entered the prison. At this time, the old monk opened his eyes and looked at Lin Feng with a puzzled expression. Chapter 4890. Lin Feng knew that the old monk had misunderstood him, so he quickly changed back to his original appearance. Then, he said, "Senior, I'm here to save you." The old monk was shocked. He did not expect that the evil spirit warrior in front of him was actually a young human cultivator. In fact, the old monk was also a human cultivator, an expert from the era of titled gods. Back then, he was also a true immortal, but his cultivation had fallen to the heavenly immortal realm. In fact, if he could leave this place and recuperate for a period of time, a cultivator like the old monk might only need 100 or 200 years to break through to the true immortal realm again. Lin Feng planned to save the experts trapped here. First, he did not want these experts to die tragically in this place. Second, Lin Feng had his own plans. If he saved these experts and formed a good relationship with them, he could try to recruit them into the Sin realm. Their current strength had indeed fallen, but even so, their combat strength was still very strong. In addition, these experts would recover in the future. That would be a group of titled gods. Thinking about it, having a group of titled gods under his command. This was such an exciting thing. Moreover, there were many experts under his command. It would be crucial for him to rescue his mother in the future and fight against the Doomsday battle. At that moment, the old monk said, "Ba, good. Thank you for saving us, benefactor." "Senior, you're welcome," Lin Feng said. He came in front of the old monk and broke the 4 restrictive spell chains that shackled the old monk. The old monk could not help but be shocked. It was said that the human body was weak. In fact, the human body was indeed not comparable to the other races. However, Lin Feng's body seemed to be too abnormal, right? He could break a chain that restricted magic power in an instant. How strong did his body have to be to do that? Just the thought of it was enough to make people feel shocked. "I hear footsteps. The patrolling evil spirit warriors are probably coming. What do we do now?" At that moment, Fairy Clear Snow's voice sounded. Lin Feng said, "We have to get rid of those guys. But there are 6 of them. I'm afraid we can't do it." Fairy Qing Shui said in a deep voice, "I can do it. Let's hide and ambush them." As Lin Feng spoke, he summoned the 9 orifices stone man and the 2 evil god stone statues. Fairy Qing Shui and the old monk were surprised to see the 9 orifices stone man avatar and the 2 evil god stone statues. If we include the three of them, we should have a way to get rid of those guys. Fairy Qing Shui said. Let's go to the intersection and hide there. Lin Feng said. Together with Fairy Qing Shui, the old monk, the 9-orifice stone golem clone, and the 2 evil god statues, Qin Mu sped toward the intersection. After arriving here, he could already hear the other party's footsteps and voices. Lin Feng used the Tao of Space, and they immediately hid in the void. Lin Feng's Tao of Space was the inheritance of the great god of space, so it was very powerful. Only those who were extremely strong could sense Lin Feng and the others. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to sense them at all. The combat strength of the evil spirit warriors was rather strange. They couldn't be measured by the realm of this world. However, Lin Feng had a feeling that the evil spirit warriors' combat strength was close to the true immortal realm. If they were the leader of the evil spirit warriors, they should have the combat strength of a true immortal realm expert. Therefore, there should be 1 evil spirit warrior at the true immortal realm and 5 evil spirit warriors close to the true immortal realm. Lin Feng would deal with the true immortal realm evil spirit warrior. Because Lin Feng wielded the wooden sword, and the wooden sword was the evil spirit warrior's greatest nemesis. Perhaps without the support of the 9 orifices stone man, Lin Feng's combat strength couldn't be compared to Fairy Qing Shui's. However, Lin Feng wielded the stone sword. Just this point alone, Lin Feng's threat to the evil spirit warriors was far greater than Fairy Qing Shui's threat to the evil spirit warriors. When the evil spirit warriors were patrolling, Lin Feng and the others suddenly attacked. Lin Feng directly sealed the area, so no sound could be transmitted out. Then, Lin Feng wielded the wooden sword and attacked an evil spirit warrior. Fairy Qing Shui, the old monk, the 9 orifices stone man, and the 2 evil spirit stone statues also locked on to their opponents and quickly launched attacks. Only then did the evil spirit warriors notice Lin Feng and the others. They shouted, wanting to attract the other evil spirit warriors over. However, Lin Feng did not give them the chance. Lin Feng had set up a barrier to isolate their voices. Lin Feng's attack speed was simply too fast. Before the evil spirit warrior that Lin Feng had locked on to could even react, Lin Feng had already stabbed it to death. At the same time, the old monk also unleashed his might. He displayed a lost technique called karma retribution. This lost technique produced a powerful karma force. When the karma force poured into the evil spirit warrior's body, a terrifying thing happened. The evil spirit warrior's body instantly aged, while the life aura of the old monk became much stronger. This karma retribution seemed to have transferred the life force of the evil spirit warrior to the old monk. Therefore, the old monk became vigorous while the evil spirit warrior rapidly aged. Fairy Qing Shui, the 9 orifices stone man, and the 2 evil spirit stone statues also displayed their might. They locked on to their opponents at the fastest speed and killed them. After killing 6 evil spirit warriors, Lin Feng and the others could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. However, Lin Feng still remembered that he and Fairy Qing Shui had killed more than a dozen evil spirit warriors. But in the end, those evil spirit warriors were resurrected. The situation could be described as incomparably strange. Lin Feng was worried that the evil spirit warriors in front of him would also be resurrected. Therefore, Lin Feng summoned the heavenly fire. The heavenly fire enveloped the corpses of the evil spirit warriors, and then the heavenly fire burned fiercely. It did not take long for those evil spirit warriors to be burned to ashes. In this way, there was no need to worry about those evil spirit warriors resurrecting. Senior is the only one imprisoned on this floor. Let's go up and save the others. At that time, we will do the same thing and kill the evil spirit warriors there. Lin Feng said. Fairy Qing Shui and the old monk nodded. Then, Lin Feng and the others quickly sneaked towards the 14th floor. Their movements were very subtle, for fear of attracting the attention of the other evil spirit warriors. It did not take long for Lin Feng and the others to reach the 14th floor. Chapter 4891. Lin Feng once again used the Tao of Space, allowing everyone to hide. Not long after, the 6 evil spirit warriors arrived at Lin Feng's side. Shua, Lin Feng, and the others suddenly appeared. Just like before, Lin Feng once again used restrictions to seal the surroundings. Then, each of them locked onto an evil spirit warrior. Lin Feng stabbed the leader of the evil spirit warriors to death with a single sword strike. The rest of them also unleashed their might and killed the evil spirit warriors they had locked onto. Following that, Lin Feng took out his heavenly flame and burned the corpses of the 6 evil spirit warriors to ashes. Umeba, good, good. The old monk clasped his hands together, looking as if he was bemoaning the state of the universe and pitying the fate of mankind. Lin Feng said, Buddha said that if I don't enter hell, who will? The people we killed are even more evil and terrifying than the demons of hell. It is a matter of boundless merit. The old monk said, Young benefactor is young, but you have an extremely deep understanding of Buddhism. If you enter my Buddhist sect, you will definitely become a Buddha-level existence in the future. Lin Feng could not help but roll his eyes. This old monk was too unreasonable. He had only sighed, and he actually wanted to send this young master into the Buddhist sect. Lin Feng naturally had no interest in a place like the Buddhist sect. He had heard that Buddhist cultivators cultivated bitterly in front of the green lamp. Moreover, they would often sit in meditation for hundreds of years, thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. This was not something that ordinary people could endure. Lin Feng said, I still prefer the colorful world outside. The old monk smiled. He also knew that it was impossible to persuade someone like Lin Feng to enter the Buddhist sect, so he did not continue to persuade Lin Feng. The evil spirit warriors on the 14th floor had already been killed. As a result, Lin Feng and the others could go and save them without worry. They quickly traversed through the 14th floor of the prison. Their speed was extremely fast, and soon, they found a trap cultivator. That cultivator was already as thin as a bag of bones. When he saw Lin Feng and the others, he was extremely shocked. Lin Feng made a shushing gesture and said, We are here to save Senior. Thank you. The cultivator said with an agitated look on his face. Being trapped in this place was truly a fate worse than death. However, his will to live had kept him alive until now. He hoped that one day, a miracle would happen. Right now, a miracle had actually happened. Someone had come to save the cultivators trapped in the Bone Palace. They were finally going to escape. Crack! Lin Feng directly pulled down the door of the prison. Then, he entered the prison and broke the chains that bound the cultivator. The cultivator managed to escape. Next, one after another, cultivators were rescued by Lin Feng and the others. In total, Lin Feng and the others had rescued more than 120 people. Lin Feng had never been able to find ancient God Taihao's head. This left Lin Feng rather depressed. He didn't know where ancient God Taihao's head had been suppressed. Lin Feng asked the others, but they also didn't know where ancient God Taihao's head was. We can't go to the upper level. That's where the Lord is cultivating in seclusion. A cultivator said. The leader of the Palace of Bones was a terrifying cultivator. Lin Feng didn't dare offend the leader of the Palace of Bones, but he hadn't found ancient God Taihao's head yet, so he didn't want to leave. Perhaps it was on the top level? However, that wasn't a place he could explore. Moreover, they really couldn't stay here for long. Otherwise, if they alerted the Lord of the Bone Palace, they wouldn't be able to leave. It seems that I can only come back here to find ancient God Taihao's head after I'm strong enough. Lin Feng thought to himself. Lin Feng then said, Everyone, let's kill our way out. All right, let's kill our way out. The cultivators nodded. They were now free. As long as they could kill their way out, they would regain their freedom. So, the cultivators were all very excited. Let's go. Lin Feng waved his hand and was about to head down to the next level. However, at that moment, a sinister and terrifying aura filled the hall on the 37th level. Upon sensing this sinister and terrifying aura, the expressions of Lin Feng and the others couldn't help but change slightly. In the next moment, a woman actually appeared in the main hall. She was a woman in snow-white clothes. She had an extremely beautiful face, but that beautiful face was as cold as an iceberg. Damn! This iceberg beauty is so beautiful. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. At that moment, one expert after another quickly retreated and looked at the woman in horror. When he saw this, Lin Feng immediately felt that something was amiss. This group of people had such terrified expressions. Could it be? This beautiful woman in front of him was the Lord of the Bone Palace? Suddenly, the beautiful woman looked at Lin Feng with an extremely cold gaze. The bloodline of a sovereign. So, it's someone from the sovereign race. Compared to your ancestor, you're way too weak. Such a weak cultivation state. How dare you come to the Great Hall of Bones? Are you here to die? I've yet to take revenge for being injured by Lin Xiaobai back then. Since you've walked right into my trap, I'll skin you alive and pull out your tendons. Once I've recovered, I'll go and kill Lin Xiaobai. Lin Feng's face let out an extremely bitter expression. The Lord of the Bone Palace was way too terrifying. Furthermore, she clearly had an irreconcilable relationship with the sovereign race. Now that he was being targeted by this terrifying existence, Lin Feng felt an unprecedented amount of pressure. Lin Feng even had the heart to cry right now. How could it be that easy to escape from the clutches of this terrifying existence? Lin Feng said, I've heard about you from my ancestor Lin Xiaobai. Do you know why I dared to come here? The woman was slightly taken aback. Then, she shook her head and asked, Why? Lin Feng said, Because before I left, my ancestor gave me a jade talisman. All I have to do is crush it, and my ancestor will rush over immediately. Lin Feng's hand flashed, and a jade talisman appeared in his hand. Of course, Lin Feng was trying to trick her. After all, he had never seen his ancestor Lin Xiaobai before. Furthermore, according to the rumors, his ancestor Lin Xiaobai had already fallen. Lin Feng did not know if the rumors were true, but he had no other choice. He could only hope to intimidate this terrifying woman. Even though she looked exactly like a human cultivator, she was an expert from the mastermind's world. She was definitely someone who would kill without batting an eyelid. Lin Feng hoped that he could use the reputation of his ancestor Lin Xiaobai to intimidate her so that he could find a chance to escape. Do you think I'll believe your nonsense? The woman said coldly. Her eyes flashed with dense killing intent. The magic power in her body began to circulate. After sensing the aura emitted from her body, everyone present felt an almost suffocating pressure. This woman was too strong. She was so strong that they could not fight against her. Chapter 4892. There were two mistakes in the previous chapter. This woman could tell that Lin Feng had the sovereign bloodline and the immortal bloodline. However, she only wrote that he had the sovereign bloodline. Furthermore, she had a grudge against Lin Feng, not the sovereign bloodline. It's over. It's really over this time. This woman is going to make a move. Lin Feng wailed in his heart. If this woman made a move, he could only join forces with everyone else to attack her. However, the titled gods that he had saved were not in good condition. There were only two true immortal realm cultivators left, and they were severely injured. The rest of them had either fallen to the quasi-true immortal realm or the heavenly immortal realm. There were even a few who had fallen to the earth immortal realm. Therefore, even though Lin Feng and the rest had the advantage in numbers, it was no different from sending themselves to their deaths if they wanted to deal with the owner of the White Bone Palace. Lin Feng knew that he could not afford to show any weakness at this time. If his aura was weak, if this woman were to see through his disguise, he would be doomed eternally. Therefore, Lin Feng sneered and said, You want to make a move? Let's give it a try. Originally, I did not want to waste this jade talisman to summon my ancestor. However, since you want to make a move, I will summon my ancestor here. After saying that, Lin Feng acted as if he was going to crush the jade talisman. Stop, the woman said in a low voice. She did not release the magic power in her body. Clearly, she was testing Lin Feng just now. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. His back was covered in sweat. He was so nervous that he was about to die. However, he did not show it on his face. He still looked very calm. Hee, are you afraid now? Lin Feng grinned and said, Actually, if you don't make a move, I don't want to disturb my ancestor either. Because my ancestor is comprehending the 10th transformation. As a junior, I naturally don't want to disturb his cultivation at this critical juncture. The woman did not say anything. She just kept looking at Lin Feng. Lin Feng felt his hair stand on end. He didn't know what this woman was thinking. His palms were also sweating. Fortunately, Lin Feng's mental fortitude was still considered passable. He intended to change the topic. The topic couldn't stay on ancestor Lin Xiaobai. Otherwise, it would be easy to spill the beans. If he spilled the beans, wouldn't he be dead? Lin Feng asked. Where is ancient god Taihao's head? The woman frowned and asked, Why are you asking this? Leave it to me, Lin Feng said. Why? The woman looked coldly at Lin Feng. If you don't hand it over to me, I'll have my ancestor kill you, Lin Feng threatened. Lin Feng's words infuriated the woman. After all these years, there was actually someone who dared to threaten her. This made her quite angry. If it wasn't for her fear of Lin Feng, she would have killed Lin Feng with a slap. Ancient god Taihao deserves to die, the woman said coldly. Lin Feng sneered. I don't care about that. Just give me his head. The woman did not give ancient god Taihao's head to Lin Feng. Instead, she sneered and said, Back then, this person actually got together with my maidservant. What a reckless fool. As for that lowly maidservant, she actually betrayed me for such a lowly man. Thus, I killed both her and that lowly man. The woman's voice was filled with dense killing intent. It had to be said that she was truly perverted. She believed herself to be noble, so she didn't care about the other races at all. Ancient god Taihao, on the other hand, was a titled god of the era of titled gods. He was indeed not as strong as the experts of the mastermind's world, but even in the era of titled gods, ancient god Taihao was definitely no ordinary person. Let me guess at what happened back then. Lin Feng said, I believe that your maidservant must have hidden her identity before she fell in love with ancient god Taihao. If she hadn't, ancient god Taihao probably wouldn't have fallen in love with her. Later on, for some reason, the two of them fell in love. However, your maidservant knew that her identity was very special and knew that you wouldn't agree. If you learned of this matter, you wouldn't have let ancient god Taihao off. Thus, your maidservant left ancient god Taihao. From what I know, ancient god Taihao was hurt by love, so he went to a world where no one knew him and concealed his identity. And since you knew about the matter between ancient god Taihao and your maidservant, you might have made a request to have your maidservant kill ancient god Taihao, right? But your maidservant didn't agree. She was willing to die rather than hurt her lover. Although the people of your world are hateful, I do admire your maidservant for being in love with ancient god Taihao. You killed her when you saw how protective she was of a lowly creature in your eyes. Later on, you found ancient god Taihao and cut off his head. Am I right? As expected of the sovereign clan, the descendants of the undying clan are truly as intelligent as monsters. Although there are some discrepancies, you've guessed most of it. The woman said, raising her eyebrows. Since you've already killed ancient god Taihao, his head is of no use to you. Give it to me, Lin Feng said. The woman sneered. His head has long since been reduced to ashes, but his soul remains. Do you want his soul? As soon as she finished speaking, a black crystal appeared in her hand. Shrill screams could be heard coming from it. What's that? Lin Feng asked grimly. This black crystal is called the crystal of hell. Inside it is the fire of hell. I threw the souls of some people I hated into it, making them suffer for eternity, making them beg for death. The woman said. You're truly vicious, Lin Feng said with a gloomy expression. Isn't there a saying in your world that a woman's heart is the most vicious? The woman said with a smile. That's why you should never anger a woman. Lin Feng was rendered speechless by the woman's words. Give me ancient god Taihao's soul, and I'll leave immediately, Lin Feng said. The woman sneered. Hee. Give you ancient god Taihao's soul? Are you daydreaming? I suddenly thought of something. What is it? Lin Feng asked. If this palace of bones self-destructs, do you think it'll kill your ancestor, Lin Xiaobai? Even if it doesn't kill him, it'll probably heavily injure him, right? When the time comes, I'll attack him. Who knows, I might even be able to kill him, the woman said. When Lin Feng heard that, his expression suddenly changed. The woman walked toward Lin Feng. Lin Feng kept backing away. Don't come over. If you do, I'll crush the jade talisman and summon my ancestor, Lin Feng shouted. But the woman continued walking toward him with a sneer. Crush it then. I'm looking forward to seeing Lin Feng appear before me. If you won't crush the jade talisman, I'll crush it for you. Chapter 4893. The woman wanted to force Lin Feng to crush the jade talisman, but Lin Feng's jade talisman was fake. What could she do even if he crushed it? It was still useless. If he didn't shatter it and this woman came, he would be dead for sure. My ancestor is coming, Lin Feng shouted and crushed the jade talisman. The woman was naturally worried that Lin Feng's ancestor would suddenly appear and kill her by surprise. Therefore, she hurriedly retreated to avoid Lin Feng's ancestor. But in reality, Lin Feng didn't have an ancestor. "Let's go, everyone," shouted Lin Feng loudly. He took the lead and ran towards the stairs. The others came back to their senses and understood that Lin Feng was trying to trick the master of the Palace of Bones. No one dared to hesitate and flew toward the exit. The woman's face alternated between green and red. For a powerful existence like her to be fooled by a junior was a great humiliation to her. How could she accept such humiliation? Therefore, the woman's killing intent was monstrous. She wanted nothing more than to cut Lin Feng into 1,000 pieces. The woman waved her right hand. In an instant, runes began to interweave at the exit. Those runes sealed the exit. As a result, everyone was trapped in the hall. Lin Feng's face turned extremely unsightly. Now that they were trapped in the palace, they were in trouble. "Kid, I'm going to grind your bones to dust." The woman looked coldly at Lin Feng and charged toward Lin Feng. However, at that moment, the woman seemed to have sensed something. She stopped and looked to the left. An old man had appeared there at some point in time. The old man was thin and shriveled. It was as if his body was made of only a layer of skin apart from bones. His eyes were sunken into his eye sockets. His eyes were old and turbid. A mummified old man. It was actually a mummified old man. He actually appeared here. Damn, did he really summon the ancestor? A cultivator exclaimed. Is this the expert from the Lin clan? I've heard of him in the past. Countless years have passed, and he's the same as us. He's old. Another cultivator added. They were from the same generation as Lin Feng's ancestor, Lin Xiaobai. In fact, if it wasn't for the slow flow of time in the hall, these people would have died long ago. However, they knew that the legendary powerhouse Lin Xiaobai had no problem surviving until now. Lin Feng was crying in his heart. This was not his ancestor, Lin Xiaobai. However, this is also a senior who is fated with me. Even though he didn't know where this senior came from, he didn't know where he came from. But what did that matter? It was fine as long as this senior was of help to him. You. When the woman saw the mummified old man, she pointed her finger at him. Her face was filled with disbelief. It was obvious that she had recognized the mummified old man. Destroy. She wanted to destroy the Great Bone Palace and use the explosion of the Great Bone Palace to deal with the mummified old man. However, the hall didn't move at all. You've sealed the surrounding laws. The woman's voice turned extremely cold. Hand over the item. The mummified old man spoke. His voice was extremely hoarse. Lin Feng knew that the mummified old man had been running around for the past few years in search of some special items. Those special items were extremely important to the mummified old man. However, Lin Feng didn't know what the mummified old man was looking for. I don't have what you want. The woman said, You're lying. You deserve death. The mummified old man said coldly. At this moment, the entire hall became extremely dark. Everyone could sense how powerful the mummified old man's killing intent was. Fortunately, the killing intent wasn't targeted at them. If it was, they would be in trouble. You're too arrogant. Do you think you're still the same as before? You're no longer the same as before. I'm not afraid of you, the woman said coldly. She knew that today's battle was unavoidable. So, she decided to fight to the death. After she finished speaking, she began to chant quickly. As her voice was very soft, Lin Feng couldn't hear what she was chanting. After she finished chanting, an extremely powerful energy surged out of the hall and entered the woman's body. As the energy entered her body, the woman's combat strength increased greatly. This should also be one of her trump cards. Now that she had used it, it was to fight to the death with the mummified old man. Kill. A sword appeared in her hand. She held the sword and became one with it. Then, she attacked the mummified old man. At that moment, The sky changed color and the sun and moon lost their light. The woman's combat strength was too terrifying. Although she hadn't recovered to her peak, she was still unimaginably powerful. It was shocking and moving. The woman was worthy of being a powerhouse in the world of the mastermind. She was really a powerful existence. However, facing the woman's attack, the mummified old man didn't dodge. After seeing this scene, the rest of the people's faces changed drastically. They knew how terrifying the woman was. But facing the woman's attack, the mummified old man didn't dodge. Could it be that he wanted to use his physical body to resist the opponent's attack? This was simply a trick to catch him dead. Soon, they were sure that the mummified old man was really using his physical body to resist the opponent's attack. When the woman's terrifying sword came, the mummified old man stretched out his right hand and slapped the sword. Clang! The treasured sword stabbed directly into the shriveled old man's palm. At this moment, an inconceivable scene occurred. When the mummified old man's palm collided with the woman's sword broke into pieces. That was a powerful sword, but it was broken in an instant. It was unbelievable. The woman's expression changed drastically. She wanted to retreat, but it was too late. The mummified old man instantly came in front of her and grabbed her forehead. Chapter 4894. After witnessing this scene, everyone could not help but reveal a deeply shocked expression. They simply could not believe their eyes. That woman was an expert from the mastermind's world. What kind of terrifying existence was she? In front of the mummified old man, she was actually so weak. It was truly somewhat inconceivable. Just how strong was this mummified old man? The mummified old man took the woman's storage ring and then directly smashed her corpse with a palm strike. The woman's hope of resurrection was completely destroyed. The mummified old man could not help but frown after sensing the items in the storage ring. He seemed to be unable to find what he needed in the storage ring. Take it. The mummified old man looked at Lin Feng and then threw the storage ring to Lin Feng. Then, his figure instantly disappeared without a trace. We're out of danger. We're out of danger. The rest of the people looked as if they had just survived a disaster. The feeling of being able to survive was simply too good. Congratulations to everyone for being reborn. Lin Feng could not help but let out a long sigh and then clasped his fists and said, "Thank you, young friend, for saving us. If not for you, young friend, we would definitely have died." Everyone thanked Lin Feng one after another. Lin Feng said with a smile, "Everyone, please don't be so polite." At this moment, someone asked, "Young friend, was that old man just now Senior Lin Xiaobai?" Actually, everyone wanted to hear what Lin Feng had to say. Although the mummified old man had appeared after Lin Feng crushed the jade talisman, the mummified old man had appeared. When the mummified old man first appeared, many people really thought that the mummified old man was Lin Feng's ancestor. However, when they heard the conversation between the mummified old man and the Bone Palace Master, and then thought of Lin Feng's reaction after crushing the jade talisman, the mummified old man should not have been summoned by Lin Feng. Therefore, the mummified old man should not be Lin Feng's ancestor. However, although he was not Lin Feng's ancestor, the way he looked at Lin Feng was clearly different. Moreover, he even handed the palace master's storage ring to Lin Feng. Therefore, everyone guessed that the mummified old man and Lin Feng knew each other, and their relationship was quite close. Otherwise, the mummified old man wouldn't have given the storage ring of the palace lord to Lin Feng. Could he be the Tao protector of this young cultivator? Many people could not help but think of a certain possibility. Lin Feng said, "I won't hide it from everyone. That senior just now wasn't my ancestor, but he was one of my seniors." After hearing Lin Feng's words, everyone couldn't help but mutter in their hearts. If this was not Lin Feng's ancestor, then it meant that in addition to his own ancestor, Lin Feng also had a great backer from earlier. At this time, someone asked, "I wonder if this young friend can reveal the identity of that senior to us?" Although these people were all titled gods from the era of titled gods and were very powerful in the past, they were still very respectful when talking about the mummified old man. Not to mention now, even when they were at their peak, they could only bow their heads in front of the old man who looked like a dried corpse. They had to be respectful. Lin Feng said, "Everyone, Without the permission of this senior of mine, I can't tell everyone his identity. I hope everyone can understand this. Lin Feng was purely bluffing. His goal was to tell everyone that he had many great backers, paving the way for him to recruit these experts later. We can understand. The group of experts couldn't help but nod. They could indeed understand Lin Feng's difficulties. After all, some experts were unwilling to reveal themselves to the world. Therefore, these experts tended to keep a low profile. If the identities of these experts were revealed to others without permission, it might anger these experts. Lin Feng said, "Thank you for your understanding. Now that everyone is free, what do you plan to do next? We've been trapped for a very long time, so we don't know what's going on outside. Young friend, can you tell us more about the situation outside?" One of the cultivators asked. Lin Feng said, "It's already the end of the era. The doomsday battle isn't far from here." What? It's already the end of the era? The group's expressions changed drastically. They naturally knew what the doomsday battle meant. When the doomsday battle broke out, it meant that countless living beings in countless worlds would die. After all, only a small number of cultivators could survive the doomsday battle. Moreover, they had been imprisoned for a very long time. Their current combat power had long fallen. Therefore, their chances of surviving the doomsday battle were even slimmer. Everyone was very clear about this. So now, their feelings were complicated. Originally, they thought that they would have enough time to slowly recover after being reborn. Then, they would rise again and become stronger again. However, the reality was so cruel that it gave them a suffocating pressure. Lin Feng continued, "The doomsday battle is extremely important to us. Therefore, we must unite. Only by uniting will we be able to survive the doomsday battle." That's right. We have to unite. As long as we're united enough, we'll definitely be able to survive the doomsday battle. Another cultivator said in agreement. Lin Feng said, "This junior is untalented, but I'm now the Lord of Sin Realm. This junior's ancestors are also powerful people, and now, this junior wants to strengthen the Sin domain. If all of you join the Sin domain at that time, we will definitely be able to strengthen the Sin domain, and all of you seniors will have a place to stay." Lin Feng's words were tactful, but everyone understood what Lin Feng meant. Lin Feng wanted to recruit everyone. Now, this group of experts had some understanding of Lin Feng's background and strength. Lin Feng had an extraordinary background, and with his extraordinary talent, he would definitely be able to achieve great things in the future. With the arrival of the doomsday battle, everyone needed to stay together. Otherwise, when the doomsday battle arrived, they would all die miserably. My life was saved by you, little friend. If you have any instructions in the future, just say the word and I won't even frown. A tall and burly cultivator said. This person was called Dragon Tiger Immortal. He had demon blood flowing in his veins and was an extremely forthright person in the past. Now, he was the first to choose to join Lin Feng. After the first person expressed his willingness, the rest also expressed their willingness to join Sin Realm. Two true immortal experts also joined Sin Realm. One of them was a human cultivator called Zhang Yunting, while the other was a divine inscription race cultivator called Lu Huai. Chapter 4895. When Lin Feng led a large group of people out of the Great Bone Hall, the evil spirit warriors outside had already run away without a trace. The evil spirit warriors probably knew what had happened inside. Even the mummified old man had died tragically, let alone them. Let's work together to destroy the Great Bone Hall, Lin Feng said. The rest naturally had no objection. Then, a large group of people joined forces and tried to destroy the Great Bone Hall. This hall represented slaughter and evil. With the fall of the Great Bone Hall Master, it shouldn't be allowed to remain in this world. Asterisk Hong Hong Hong. Asterisk all kinds of attacks bombarded the Great Bone Hall. However, when these attacks bombarded the Great Bone Hall, it wasn't destroyed. Countless runes appeared outside the Great Bone Hall and resisted the attacks. It was incomparably strange. Since the Great Bone Hall couldn't be activated, Lin Feng wanted to see if he could collect the Great Bone Hall. If he could, it would be a good choice. As the saying goes, there was no distinction between good and evil in treasures. However, when Lin Feng tried to collect the Great Bone Hall, he still failed. He couldn't collect the Great Bone Hall. This made Lin Feng very depressed. He couldn't destroy it and couldn't collect it. In this case, he could only leave the Great Bone Hall here. There was no other way. Although he was depressed, he could only accept it. Lin Feng summoned the ancient starship Xianyuan. The group boarded the ancient starship Xianyuan and quickly sailed in the direction of the White Bone Domain. On the way, Lin Feng checked the woman's storage ring. There were all kinds of heavenly treasures and other things piled up like a mountain inside. In addition, Lin Feng found the crystal that imprisoned the soul of ancient god Tai Hao. He released the soul of ancient god Tai Hao and let it temporarily attach itself to a piece of spirit-nourishing wood. Perhaps when it recovered in the future, it could reincarnate and cultivate again. After returning to the White Bone region, Lin Feng did not continue to stay in the White Bone region. He planned to return to the Sin domain and make arrangements for these powerhouses. This was the most important thing at the moment. Lin Feng had experienced a lot of things during this period of time. Therefore, Lin Feng needed to go into seclusion for some time to properly digest the crazy advancement of his cultivation over the past few years and stabilize his foundation of the Great Tao. These were all extremely important things that couldn't be delayed any longer. Not long after the Xianyuan left the White Bone region, Di Wudao arrived. He came for Lin Feng, but in the end, he brushed past Lin Feng. Di Wudao was an extremely terrifying existence. It was said that when he was a loose immortal back then, he could already fight against true immortals. As expected of the son of the Heaven Empyrean, as expected of someone with the bloodline of the heavenly human race. Now that Di Wudao had broken through to the true immortal realm, no one knew how strong he was. Lin Feng and Di Wudao would have a battle to the death sooner or later, but now was not the time. After returning to the Sin domain, Lin Feng went to pay a visit to ancestral master Wang Mingchuan. Wang Mingchuan had been overseeing the Sin domain all these years, so everything in the Sin domain had developed in an orderly manner. It was said that a few powerhouses from the Heavenly Court had entered the Sin capital to investigate the situation, but they had all been killed by Wang Mingchuan. The Heaven Empyrean now knew of Wang Mingchuan's existence, and he seemed to know him. He was quite wary of Wang Mingchuan. Seeing that Lin Feng had returned, Wang Mingchuan was overjoyed. Wang Mingchuan was extremely happy. Lin Feng and Wang Mingchuan chatted for a long time. Lin Feng then introduced the many powerhouses he had brought with him to Wang Mingchuan. Lin Feng had carved out a huge estate behind the Sin capital. It was called the House of Prodigies. The House of Prodigies specialized in gathering all the extraordinary people in the world. These powerhouses moved into the House of Prodigies one after another. Lin Feng provided them with all kinds of immortal pills, elixirs, cultivation resources, and so on to help them recover quickly. The faster they recovered, the more benefits Lin Feng would have. Lin Feng naturally hoped that they could recover quickly. Lin Feng then went into seclusion. Lin Feng went into seclusion in the space of time. Year after year passed. Flowers bloomed and withered. 10 spring and autumn passed. Lin Feng stayed in the space of time for a full 10 years. In these 10 years, Lin Feng constantly comprehended various great Taos. He questioned his own Tao heart. In these 10 years, although Lin Feng's cultivation did not increase, his understanding of various great Taos deepened. This was a huge wealth that could not be seen with the naked eye. The deeper one's understanding of great Taos, the more extraordinary one's future achievements would be. In these 10 years, Bibi and the others also made great progress. This made Lin Feng extremely happy. 1 year in the outside world was 10 years in the space of time. Therefore, although Lin Feng had cultivated in the space of time for 10 years, only 1 year had passed in the outside world. After Lin Feng came out of seclusion, he learned that Taoist Wu Liang, Du Zhu, and the others had returned. It was said that they had obtained opportunities and were now in seclusion. Celestial Qing Shui had left a few months before. Long Ao Tian had come to Zue City, but after one day, he had left. Xuenu had also come to Zue City to see Lin Feng, but Lin Feng was meditating in seclusion, so Xuenu had left. She went back to the village. She liked life in the village, and she had to protect the villagers. She couldn't stay in Zue City for too long. As for the experts living in the House of Wonders, they had recovered quite well. Many of them had recovered to the quasi-true immortal realm, and there was even one who had recovered to the true immortal realm. With this, the House of Wonders now had 3 true immortals. This was naturally something worth celebrating for Sin City. Lin Feng took out the chart of God King and transmitted his voice to Morong Yuxuan. Fairy, how are you feeling after being trapped in there for so long? I'm fine. You don't have to worry about me. Morong Yuxuan replied coldly. Lin Feng sneered. Why do I feel like your voice is not as strong as before? Let me try to see if I can break the seal on the chart of God King. Powerful magic power surged toward the seal on the chart of God King. Bang, 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 bang. The powerful magic power began to attack the seal on the chart of God King. He wanted to destroy the seal on the chart of God King. The chart of God King had been placed in Lin Feng's gourd of fortunes all this time, so it could not absorb the yuan qi of the world to maintain its operation. Therefore, the defensive power of the chart of God King was far weaker than before. However, Lin Feng failed to destroy the seal on the chart of God King. It seemed that he still needed some time. As long as he could destroy the seal on the chart of God King, he would be able to capture Morong Yuxuan. Once he captured Morong Yuxuan, Lin Feng would definitely make her pay a heavy price. Lin Feng threw the chart of God King back into the gourd of fortunes. Chapter 4896. Lin Feng heard the cries of the immortal crane and walked out of the room. After the immortal crane saw Lin Feng, it quickly flew towards Lin Feng. Then, it placed the letter in Lin Feng's hand. It's a letter from Yaoguang. When Lin Feng saw the immortal crane, he couldn't help but smile. This was a method that Feng Yaoguang had mastered. It was very magical. No matter where he went, he would be able to receive Yaoguang's letter. However, Lin Feng hadn't received a letter from Feng Yaoguang for a long time. After coming to the Undying Realm, Lin Feng had tried to inquire about Feng Yaoguang's news, but there were no clues. This made Lin Feng quite depressed, and Lin Feng had always been very worried about Feng Yaoguang's safety. Now that he finally received a letter from Feng Yaoguang, he wondered how she was doing now. Lin Feng quickly opened the letter. Husband, this might be the last letter that Yaoguang wrote to you. I'm very happy to have met you. However, I might not be able to accompany my husband in the future. I wish my husband well. It was only a short sentence, followed by Feng Yaoguang's signature and nothing else. After reading the contents of the letter, Lin Feng's face became somewhat gloomy. Could it be that something had happened to Yaoguang? She had a premonition that she wouldn't live for long, so she wrote such a farewell letter? Perhaps there was such a possibility, but where was Yaoguang now? Lin Feng was very anxious, but Lin Feng didn't know where Yaoguang was. He looked at the immortal crane and asked, Do you know where Yaoguang is? Can you tell me? However, what made Lin Feng smile bitterly was that the immortal crane's body spontaneously combusted. In fact, the immortal crane was just a paper crane. Seeing the immortal crane spontaneously combusting, the last message was gone. Right now, Lin Feng felt like crying but had no tears. Little Lin Feng, I plan to go somewhere else to continue my archaeology career. Taoist Wu Liang arrived at Lin Feng's place. He had just come out of seclusion to look for Lin Feng. He was a person who couldn't stay in one place for a long time. And this damn Taoist had always wanted to develop his archaeological career. There were so many tombs of experts in the Undying Realm, and there were also so many great forces. The immeasurable Taoist naturally had many targets. Didn't you say that you won't do such things in the future? Lin Feng said speechlessly. Taoist Wu Liang said, I said I won't rob ancient tombs or dig ancient graves, but I didn't say I won't do archaeology. What I'm going to do next is archaeology. F***CK. What's the difference? Lin Feng immediately rubbed his teeth. However, this was immeasurable Taoist's own matter. Lin Feng also knew that he had no way of persuading immeasurable Taoist. Lin Feng felt that if immeasurable Taoist were to die one day, it would definitely be because he was discovered while excavating an ancient tomb. Then, he would be besieged and killed. Who asked this damn Taoist to be so stubborn? This piece of paper is... Immeasurable Taoist looked at the letter in Lin Feng's hand and was somewhat shocked. Lin Feng said, This is a letter from a close female friend of mine. Lin Feng said, and wanted to keep the letter. Immeasurable Taoist said, I didn't say that. I said that this piece of paper is somewhat extraordinary. Isn't it just an ordinary piece of paper? What's so extraordinary about it? Lin Feng asked in surprise. If I'm not mistaken, this paper should be made from the immortal spirit tree. This kind of paper is very special. It can be preserved for hundreds of millions of years without dying. It's extremely rare and doesn't circulate in the market. It's said that this paper should be the paper used by the ancient survivors. Immeasurable Taoist said, Ancient survivors? What kind of people are they? Lin Feng asked curiously. A group of abandoned people, so they are called the ancient survivors. Immeasurable Taoist said, Can you be more specific? Lin Feng asked. Immeasurable Taoist said, Those people are people abandoned by their families, eras, or history. They gathered together and became what others call the ancient survivors. Their fates are often very tragic. From birth, they are plagued by bad luck, so they can't live for too long. Occasionally, some people can live a little longer, but they usually have to pay some other price in exchange for a longer lifespan. As for what price they have to pay, no one knows. It's said that these people bring bad luck to their families, friends, and families, so they are abandoned without hesitation. Immeasurable Taoist said, There's such a saying? It sounds a little superstitious. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. Immeasurable Taoist said, But that's the truth. The world of cultivators is a mysterious world in itself. Therefore, some seemingly unreasonable things can't be simply regarded as superstition. Lin Feng nodded and said, My confidant has a piece of paper that only the ancient survivors use. Does that mean she's also an ancient survivor? Immeasurable Taoist said, That's very likely. Did you find anything strange about her? Lin Feng said, When I found her, she was sleeping in an ancient coffin. When she woke up, she forgot who she was and even forgot everything about the past. Later, she left to search for her lost memories. Taoist Wuliang said, This is really not a good thing. If she searches for her lost memories, she will probably encounter something even more terrible. These ancient survivors are people who have been abandoned by fate. She may be able to survive because she lost her memories in exchange for a chance to live. But if she finds her memories, she may die. As Taoist Wuliang spoke, he looked at the contents of the letter and said, When she wrote this letter, she probably had a premonition of her fate. That's why she wrote such a farewell letter to you. Lin Feng grabbed Immeasurable Taoist and said, Since you know the origin of this letter, you must know where the ancient survivors live, right? Take me to find the ancient survivors. This Immeasurable Taoist hesitated. Immeasurable Taoist suddenly hesitated. He seemed to be afraid of something. In the end, Immeasurable Taoist clenched his teeth and said, Who told us to be brothers? I'll help you with this. Go and arrange things in the Sin realm. Once you're done, we'll set off together. Chapter 4897. That damn Taoist actually ran away. Lin Feng couldn't help but shout gloomily. If he were to see this bastard Wu Liang next time, he would definitely give him a good beating. Whenever Immeasurable Taoist came across something good, he would shamelessly approach. But when he came across something troublesome, he would usually hide as far as he could. Wanting Immeasurable Taoist to help was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, when Lin Feng saw Wu Liang's solemn expression, he believed the damn Taoist's words. If he had known earlier that this damn Taoist was lying to him, he would have tied him up and escorted him to lead the way. However, what was done could not be undone. Lin Feng took the sound transmission jade tube left behind by Wu Liang and sent his divine sense into it. Then, Lin Feng heard Wu Liang's voice. Brother, don't blame me for not leading the way. In fact, I don't know where the timeless survivors are hiding. Moreover, the timeless survivors are a group of people abandoned by fate. I am different from you. You have inherited a powerful fate from your father. You are the child of fate, so you can resist the harm caused by the timeless survivors' misfortune. However, I can't, so you should go and find the timeless survivors yourself. Although I don't know where the timeless survivors are, I heard that the timeless survivors are most likely in the Minor Western Heaven region. The Minor Western Heaven region is close to the Western Heaven region. The Western Heaven region is the birthplace of Buddhism in the Undying Realm. That place is very frightening. Don't go there. You might not be able to come out. I wish you all the best. When we meet again, at that time, we will still be good brothers. Wu Liang's voice came to an abrupt end. Wu Liang said that he couldn't resist the timeless survivor's misfortune, but it was pure nonsense. This guy spent all his time digging the ancient tombs of other people's ancestors, but he didn't seem to be plagued by misfortune. Lin Feng put away the sound transmission jade tube. Since Du Zhu, Heretic Sovereign Holy, and the others were still in seclusion, Lin Feng planned to go to the minor Western Heaven region by himself. Lin Feng of the Little Western Sky region had also heard about it. Some of them were close to the West Sea, while others were in contact with the West Heaven realm, the Demon realm, and the realm of Shattered Sunday. If he wanted to go to the minor Western Heavens domain, he would have to go all the way west and pass through 2 domains to reach the minor Western Heavens domain. It was a long journey. In addition, teleportation arrays were rarely seen in the Undying Realm, so it would take a long time. But even so what? He had to go to the Little Western Paradise region. Lin Feng didn't want to see Feng Yaoguang die tragically, and Lin Feng actually liked Feng Yaoguang a lot. The Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship quickly jumped through the void. Leaping through the void consumed a huge amount of energy. Every time one leaped through the void, it would consume thousands of immortal stones. However, Lin Feng didn't care at all. Who asked Lin Feng to be so rich? In order to save time, on the way to the Little Western Heavenly region, Lin Feng kept burning immortal stones to enhance the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship as it jumped through the void. As for Lin Feng, he was meditating on the Tao inside the Xinyuan ancient starship. He continued his bitter cultivation. Time slowly passed by. 1 year later, Lin Feng arrived at the Broken Sun domain, which was close to the minor Western Heavens domain. The Broken Sun domain was also close to the ancient Demon domain. At this moment, Fire Qilin, Feng Yarao, Great Pong King, Peacock King, Little Pong King and others were cultivating in the ancestral land of the ancient Demon domain. He wondered how they were doing. Perhaps after he found Feng Yaoguang, he could go to the ancient Demon domain to see them. Lin Feng didn't stop at the Broken Sun domain. Half a year later, the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship arrived at the minor Western Heavens domain. The reason why this domain was called the minor Western Heavens domain was because there were many temples and monks here. Of course, this place was different from the minor Western Heavens domain. The forces in the minor Western Heavens domain were all established by monks. The minor Western Heavens domain was more complicated. Although there were many temples, there were also many other forces. For example, the demon race, devil race, or other forces established by other races. Moreover, there was also a famous force in this domain, the 8 Extreme Palace. The 8 Extreme Palace was one of the most powerful forces in the minor Western Heavens domain. This force was deeply rooted. It was said that in the past, the 8 Extreme Palace suppressed the timeless survivors. The timeless survivors suffered heavy losses, which was why they went into hiding. The timeless survivors naturally couldn't compete with a force like the 8 Extreme Palace. Not to mention, the 8 Extreme Palace had the support of the Heavenly Court. Therefore, being targeted by the 8 Extreme Palace was indeed a very tragic thing. I've finally arrived at the minor Western Heavens domain. Lin Feng couldn't help but let out a long sigh. If he flew normally, it would take more than 10 years to reach the minor Western Heavens domain. However, Lin Feng used a lot of immortal stones this time, so the time was shortened by 10 times. Everything in the minor Western Heavens domain was unfamiliar to Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng had been wandering around for many years, so his experience in dealing with matters was extremely rich. Next, Lin Feng planned to go to some of the larger ancient cities to inquire about the timeless survivors because there were many sources of information in those ancient cities. The minor Western Heavens city was the #1 ancient city in the minor Western Heavens domain. This ancient city had existed before the immemorial era and was extremely ancient. There were many powerful forces stationed in this ancient city. Therefore, the forces in the minor Western Heavens city were intricate and complicated. After Lin Feng arrived at the minor Western Heavens city, he saw many monks on the streets. In other places, it was very difficult to see monks, but in the minor Western Heavens city, it was obviously a different situation. In fact, this was not surprising. After all, there were many Buddhist forces in the Minor Western Heavens domain. Moreover, the Minor Western Heavens domain was close to the Western Heavens domain. Therefore, some monks from the Western Heavens domain would probably come to the Minor Western Heavens domain. Therefore, monks that were rarely seen in other places could be seen everywhere in the Minor Western Heavens domain. Lin Feng came to the all-knowing pavilion to inquire about information. The one who received Lin Feng was an elder of the all-knowing pavilion. What made Lin Feng surprised was that this elder was actually a female elder. Moreover, she was a vixen. This vixen looked like a young woman in her 30s. She had a charming figure. A snow-white foxtail was hidden under her skirt. However, when she walked, the snow-white foxtail swayed back and forth. This vixen was born with a seductive bone. Therefore, her every move was filled with a charming feeling, as if she was trying to seduce you. I'm Shui Yuexin. How should I address you, young master? Chapter 4898. My name is Ji, Lin Feng said. So it's young Master Ji. You don't look familiar. Is this your first time in our little western paradise city? Shui Yuexin asked sweetly. Lin Feng nodded. Yes, it's my first time in the little western paradise city. I would like to inquire about some information from the all-knowing pavilion. Shui Yuexin said. May I know what young master wants to inquire about? I wonder if the all-knowing pavilion knows anything about the timeless survivors? Lin Feng asked. Shui Yuexin was surprised. She probably did not expect Lin Feng to inquire about the timeless survivors. The timeless survivors were a taboo topic in the Little Western Paradise region. Very few people would talk about this faction. Shui Yuexin said. Our all-knowing pavilion doesn't know anything about the timeless survivors. I'm afraid young master has made a wasted trip this time. Lin Feng waved his hand, and a river of immortal stones flew out. The river was made up of 1,000,000 immortal stones. Lin Feng said. Here are 1,000,000 immortal stones. If Fairy can provide me with information about the timeless survivors, these immortal stones will be yours. In the 100 Treasure Pavilion, a piece of information was usually worth a few hundred immortal stones. Some important information was worth a few thousand immortal stones. Some taboo topics were worth tens of thousands to 100,000 immortal stones. The elders and deacons who sold the information would take a commission. In fact, they could only take about 10% of the commission. Now that Lin Feng had spent 1,000,000 immortal stones to inquire about information, it meant that other than a small part of the immortal stones that they had to pay, the other 900,000 immortal stones were all hers. Shui Yuexin naturally knew what Lin Feng meant. She could not help but feel a rush of excitement. So many immortal stones were naturally very attractive to her. Young master is really rich, Shui Yuexin said with a smile. She kept the immortal stones. Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile. In this world, anything that could be settled with money was not a problem at all. For example, Shui Yuexin didn't want to tell Lin Feng about the timeless remnant because she was afraid of breaking some taboos. However, when she saw the 1,000,000 immortal stones, she couldn't stay true to her heart anymore. After collecting the stones, Shui Yuexin said, they have taken root in Minor Western Heaven for a very long time. In the past, 8 Extreme Palace led many powers to hunt them down. Even though they killed many, many still managed to escape. That's why this place is now in ruins. Later on, no one knows where these ancient survivors hid. Of course, there may be others who know, but our all-knowing pavilion hasn't been able to find out. However, I can recommend a person to you. That person may know some information. Lin Feng asked, who is this person you're talking about? Shui Yuexin said, his name is Yun Tianyu. In the past, he had some ties with some ancient survivors. It is said that 8 Extreme Palace and other powers have been looking for him, but they haven't been able to catch him. His strength is unfathomable. After some time, he will come to Minor Western Heaven City. Oh, he will come to Minor Western Heaven City? Isn't he afraid of being surrounded by 8 Extreme Palace and other powers? Lin Feng asked in surprise. No. Shui Yuexin shook her head and said with a wry smile, he spread the news himself, saying that he obtained some treasures from an ancient secret realm and wants to exchange them for enough high-grade immortal stones. I reckon that he is about to break through, so he needs so many high-grade immortal stones. Basically, the high-grade immortal stones are in the hands of the cultivators from the various powers. However, Yun Tianyu has always been very courageous. In addition to his strength, he is not afraid of 8 extreme palace and other powers. Lin Feng said, Yun Tianyu spread the news that he will be coming to Minor Western Heaven City. He probably wants to attract the 8 extreme palaces experts. Over the years, he has killed many 8 extreme palaces experts. Perhaps he wants to go on a killing spree this time. Lin Feng said, I didn't expect Yun Tianyu to be so extreme. Shui Yuexin said, there's a reason why Yun Tianyu became so extreme. It's because Yun Tianyu's lover was an ancient remnant. Yun Tianyu's lover died tragically in that battle. I heard that Yun Tianyu's lover was pregnant at the time. Lin Feng said, no wonder Yun Tianyu hates 8 extreme palaces cultivators so much. Yeah, he is actually a straightforward person. Shui Yuexin said, I wonder when Yun Tianyu will come to Minor Western Heaven City? Lin Feng asked. We will have to wait for some time. Once Yun Tianyu arrives, I will send someone to inform young master. May I know where young master is staying now? Shui Yuexin asked. Lin Feng said, I haven't found a place to stay yet. Shui Yuexin said, if young master doesn't mind, I can arrange a place for young master to stay. There are ordinary inns and mansions there. Moreover, the security is very good. No one will disturb young master. Young master, are you interested? Lin Feng thought. This Shui Yuexin is quite good at doing business. Lin Feng guessed that Shui Yuexin would earn quite a bit of commission every time she helped Yun Tianyu attract a customer. In truth, Lin Feng admired Shui Yuexin. Surviving in the world of cultivators was very difficult. It was even more so for a beautiful woman like Shui Yuexin. In order to obtain cultivation resources, many female cultivators would even sell their bodies. At the very least, Shui Yuexin relied on her own efforts to earn immortal stones. This was truly admirable. Lin Feng said, all right, then I will have to trouble Fairy to lead the way. Young master, please don't be so polite. It is this servant's honor to be able to serve young master. Shui Yuexin said sweetly. She stood up and led the way. Her willowy waist swayed back and forth. Her figure swayed gracefully. Nothing could be more beautiful than that. A top-grade beauty was indeed a top-grade beauty. She was beautiful no matter how one looked at her. Shui Yuexin brought Lin Feng to the residence. It was a high-class inn. At the front was a 100-meter-tall pavilion. It was an inn-style residence. The rooms were all close to each other, and the most luxurious ones were suites. Further back, there were mansions after mansions. Each mansion had 8 individual courtyards arranged in the shape of the 8 trigrams. It seemed that the cultivator who built this in back then was someone who had studied the 8 trigrams. The price of the mansions at the back was naturally incomparable to the prices of the inns at the front. However, this was nothing to Lin Feng. Lin Feng chose a place to stay. A servant girl brought Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin to the place. The servant girl was very perceptive. After bringing the two to the place, she quickly left so as not to disturb Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin. Chapter 4899. Of course, the relationship between Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin was very pure. It was as pure as the snow in spring. Lin Feng looked at the layout of the courtyard. The design was not bad, and the spiritual energy was 10 times denser than outside. It was a good place to cultivate. What do you think of this place, young master? Shui Yuexin asked. Lin Feng nodded. The design is not bad. Shui Yuexin smiled. As long as young master likes it. Shui Yuexin continued. Tomorrow, there will be a monk from the Western Heaven region. It is said that he brought some good stuff from the depths of the Western Heaven region. I wonder if young master is interested in taking a look? Oh, good stuff from the Western Heaven region? What kind of good stuff is it? Lin Feng asked curiously. It is said that there is Buddhist resin, some ancient Buddhist scriptures, Buddhist treasures, relics, and other Buddhist treasures. These things can drive away evil spirits and ghosts. They are very useful to us. In addition, it is said that there is a sacred ancestor Buddha stone. It is said that the sacred ancestor Buddha stone has fused with the blood of Buddha and contains the supreme Tao. It is unknown if the rumors are true. Shui Yuexin said. Lin Feng asked, "That monk is selling these things? Why do I feel that he is not a monk? Instead, it seems like he went to the Western Heaven region and looted many treasures. Thus, he is here to sell them." Shui Yuexin said softly, "Young master, there are many types of monks in the Western Heaven region. Some of them are devoted to Buddhism and meditate on the Tao every day. They are compassionate. However, there is also a group of monks who have demons residing in their hearts. They hide in the Western Heaven region for the sake of wealth. They are usually very secretive and will not be discovered. As for the things they sell, they will not sell them in the Western Heaven region. They will often sell them in other regions. The orthodox monks of the Western Heaven region rarely leave the Western Heaven region. Thus, they can sell those things without worry. After exchanging them for the things they need, they will return to the Western Heaven region and wait for the opportunity to strike again." Lin Feng smiled bitterly and said, "I thought that the Western Heaven region was a Buddhist holy land, a pure land of Buddhism. But who would have thought that the Western Heaven region would have so many dirty things?" Shui Yuexin said, "That's right. But this kind of thing, let's talk about it in private. Don't talk about it outside. Those evil monks of the Western Heaven region have extremely terrifying strength. If they know that someone is gossiping behind their back, they will offend those evil monks and evil monks. If you offend those guys, then you will be in trouble. I presume that young master has some understanding of Buddhist sects' inheritance and divine ability. Therefore, if you can avoid offending Buddhist sects' monks, you should try your best not to offend them." Lin Feng nodded. He agreed with Shui Yuexin's words. The methods of Buddhism were indeed strange and terrifying. For example, the Great Karma Art, Great Purification Art, Great Destiny Art, and other 3,000 Great Tao that Lin Feng was currently learning were actually the foundations of Buddhism. However, Lin Feng's use of these 3,000 Great Tao was actually far inferior to Buddhist sects' cultivators. For example, the old monk that Lin Feng rescued from the Great Bone Hall had once used a divine ability called karma retribution. After this divine ability was used, the evil spirit warrior instantly died. However, this was not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was that the old monk's lifespan was crazily increasing. Karma retribution was a divine ability that the old monk had comprehended from the Great Karma Art. Obviously, the Buddhist sect had comprehended more than one or a few divine abilities from the 3,000 Great Taos. Many of the divine abilities were extremely strange. Therefore, this was also the reason why one could not offend the Buddhist sect. Since the Buddhist sect was so powerful, offending the Buddhist sect would definitely not end well. Shui Yuexin smiled and said, "It's getting late. Young master has just arrived at the Western Heaven City and must be very tired. Then, I won't disturb young master's rest." "Okay, I'll see you out," Lin Feng said. After seeing Shui Yuexin out, he immediately returned to his residence. Lin Feng rested well for a day. Next, he waited for Yun Tianyo's arrival. Lin Feng also knew that this matter could not be rushed. There was no point in being anxious. On this day, Shui Yuexin arrived at Lin Feng's residence. Shui Yuexin was as beautiful as ever. Her beauty was a kind of beauty that emanated from her bones. That kind of charming temperament could make one's heart palpitate. "Young master, that evil monk has arrived. Let's set off now," Shui Yuexin said. "I'll have to trouble Fairy to come here personally." Lin Feng cupped his fists and said, "Young master, please don't stand on ceremony," Shui Yuexin said in a charming manner. She came in a beast carriage. Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin boarded the carriage together. In the narrow space, Lin Feng could smell the alluring fragrance coming from Shui Yuexin's body. Shui Yuexin smiled and asked, "Is there something that interests young master?" "Of course," Lin Feng nodded and said, "I'm very interested in Buddha resin, especially high-quality ones. I wonder what the quality of the Buddha resin brought by that monk will be like?" Shui Yuexin said, "You can find all kinds of Buddha resin. However, young master should know that Buddha resin is a rare thing. Moreover, very few people dare to refine it. After all, this is something that offends Buddhism. Therefore, The price of Buddha resin will be very high. Moreover, the competition will be very fierce. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Of course, I've already prepared myself for this." Shui Yuexin said, "Aside from Buddha resin, what else is young master interested in?" Lin Feng said, "I'm also very interested in the sacred ancestor Buddha stone that has been infused with Buddha's blood." Shui Yuexin said with a wry smile, "Young master, the things you want are all very valuable. However, with your wealth, you should be able to participate in the competition." 2 hours later, the carriage arrived at its destination. It was a huge courtyard in the black market. Someone led Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin to a hall in the depths. There were many cultivators gathered there. In the middle of the hall was a huge stage. On it, there were dozens of beautiful women dancing coquettishly. Their movements were very sexy and seductive. Many cultivators cheered from time to time. "What is this place?" Lin Feng asked. "This is the largest and most high-end trading place in the black market. There are many things that can't be found in the outside world. Young master, look at those charming dancers on the stage. Not only are they rare cultivation furnaces, but they are also specially trained to serve men. If young master is interested, you can buy a few dancers back." Chapter 4900. Lin Feng shook his head and said, "I'm not interested in them, but you can buy a few of them and make them your personal maidservants. It's not bad." Shui Yuexin suddenly said, "I don't have such a good life." Lin Feng said, "How can that be? You're a peerless beauty. You're destined to be above others." Shui Yuexin could only smile bitterly. Only she knew how difficult it was for a woman to work hard outside. But there were some words that she could not say to Lin Feng. After all, she and Lin Feng were not lovers. So, Shui Yuexin did not continue to talk about this topic. When they arrived at the hall on the second floor, Lin Feng saw that there were many auction stages. On each stage, there was a cage. In those cages, there were women, children, old people, and children. But no matter what kind of people they were not ordinary people. Those auctioned are all slaves. Some of the slaves' cultivation is very strong. So this kind of small auction is very popular among cultivators. It's a good choice to buy some powerful slaves as guards. As for the children, most of them have strong bloodlines and are worth training. If they are trained well, their cultivation will not be weak. Those children will usually be trained to be death warriors. As for those women, they are all beautiful. They are different from the women who were trained below. They will have a strong resistance to those who buy them. Some people are more perverted and like these women who resist them," said Shui Yuexin to Lin Feng. She was very familiar with the situation on the stages. She was already used to this kind of thing, so she was not surprised. Lin Feng could not do anything about this kind of thing. His ability was limited, and he could not save everyone from the sea of suffering. Soon, Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin came to the third floor. When they arrived, Shui Yuexin met an acquaintance. The other party told Shui Yuexin that the monk was busy now, so they needed to wait for a while. "This is really Buddhism's misfortune." Shui Yuexin's friend went to the second floor, and Shui Yuexin couldn't help but mutter. Lin Feng roughly knew what the monk was doing at this moment. Lin Feng was also a little speechless, but this was other people's business, so he couldn't say much. The third floor was very large, and there were many counters. On those counters, there was a dazzling array of treasures. Many of the treasures were incomparably precious. Therefore, there were quite a few cultivators here. "Let's walk around," Shui Yuexin said to Lin Feng. Lin Feng naturally had no objections. He and Shui Yuexin strolled around on the third floor. Lin Feng even saw immortal equipment among the dazzling goods. As expected of the black market, anything could be found here, but the prerequisite was that you had to be able to afford it. The items here were also extremely expensive. For example, an immortal equipment cost about 30 million immortal stones. This was not a small number. Of course, it was nothing to Lin Feng, but to others, it was definitely an astronomical figure. Even the direct descendants of the top forces would not be able to take out so many immortal stones. Shui Yuexin stopped in front of a counter, looked at the shop assistant, and said, "Give me that black gold sword." The shop assistant took out a treasured sword. The treasured sword was about a meter long, 10 centimeters wide, and 3 centimeters thick. This treasured sword gave off a cold aura. Shui Yuexin obviously liked this treasured sword. She held it in her hand, as if she couldn't bear to part with it. This seems to be a damaged treasured sword. Lin Feng looked at the black gold sword and said. Shui Yuexin nodded and said, yes, it was originally an immortal equipment. However, because the immortal patterns on it were damaged, it became damaged and could not unleash the power of an immortal equipment. However, this treasured sword can still be repaired into an immortal equipment. Lin Feng said, if it is repaired into an immortal equipment, its power will be greatly reduced. Shui Yuexin said, although that is the case, it can still unleash the power of an immortal equipment. It is still very powerful. However, the price of this damaged black gold sword is as high as 10 million immortal stones. Lin Feng guessed that Shui Yuexin was probably saving money. She obviously wanted to buy the black gold sword, but she did not have enough immortal stones to save up. Thinking about it, she was only an elder of the Bai Shao Pavilion. Although her monthly income was not bad, she needed a large amount of resources for her own cultivation. These resources were all bought with immortal stones. Therefore, the amount of immortal stones she could save every month was not that much. If she had brothers and sisters, she might have to take care of the cultivation resources that her brothers and sisters needed for their cultivation. This made it even harder for her to save up immortal stones. Shui Yuexin might not have met many wealthy customers like Lin Feng in her entire life. Saving up 10 million immortal stones was indeed too difficult. This was like asking a white-collar worker to save up 10 million immortal stones in modern society. Was it not as difficult as ascending to the heavens? Isn't this Shui Yuexin? What a coincidence. I didn't expect to meet you here. At this moment, a sharp voice was heard. Lin Feng turned around and saw a man and a woman walking over. The one who spoke was the woman. The woman was tall and slender, and she was quite pretty. However, she wore heavy makeup and had a sharp and unkind look on her face. She was holding the hand of a cultivator who looked to be in his 30s. That cultivator only looked like he was in his 30s, but in reality, he had been cultivating for God knows how many years. After seeing the woman, Shui Yuexin's pretty face turned ugly. The woman with heavy makeup quickly walked over while holding the hand of the male cultivator. She looked at Shui Yuexin with a haughty attitude and said, you've also taken a fancy to this black gold sword? Ayaya, this is an immortal weapon. Although it's damaged, it can still be repaired. It's really a good item. However, this black gold sword is worth 10 million immortal stones. Can you afford it? Shui Yuexin's face turned ugly, but she did not say anything. She put the black gold sword back into the box and pulled Lin Feng, wanting to leave with him. You're leaving just like that? Could it be that this person in front of you is your lover? Shui Yuexin has taken a fancy to this black gold sword. Aren't you going to buy it for her? Said the woman with heavy makeup while looking at Lin Feng with a smile, yet not a smile. Lin Feng stood there and did not leave. He said indifferently, I see that you also want to buy it. If you want to buy it, I'll let you have this black gold sword. Chapter 4901. Li Xiaolu, don't go too far. Shui Yuexin looked at the woman with heavy makeup with an ugly expression. This woman with heavy makeup had joined the Bai Shao Pavilion with Shui Yuexin back then. However, her business ability was much worse than Shui Yuexin's. In addition, her figure, appearance, etc., could not be compared to Shui Yuexin. Therefore, she had always been very jealous of Shui Yuexin. Later on, she wanted to scheme against Shui Yuexin and make the Bai Shao Pavilion expel Shui Yuexin. Therefore, she stole a part of the important information that she and Shui Yuexin had kept together. Then, she slandered Shui Yuexin for stealing the Bai Shao Pavilion's information and selling it. During that period of time, Shui Yuexin's cultivation had reached a critical point and needed a large amount of immortal stones. Moreover, Shui Yuexin's younger brother had injured a vice sect master's grandson in the sect. Therefore, she needed a large amount of immortal stones to settle this matter. Therefore, Shui Yuexin needed money and Li Xiaolu chose the right time. Shui Yuexin had sufficient reason to commit the crime. Anyone would suspect that Shui Yuexin did this. Fortunately, the pavilion master of the Bai Shao Pavilion in the little western paradise city was very wise. He did not listen to Li Xiaolu's words and secretly investigated this matter. He found that Shui Yuexin was slandered, and the main culprit was Li Xiaolu. Li Xiaolu was clearly a thief crying thief. Therefore, she was expelled from the Bai Shao Pavilion. Later on, Li Xiaolu hooked up with a young master of the Sikong clan in the little western paradise city. It was this cultivator in front of them. The Sikong clan was a top clan in the little western paradise city. This young master was called Sikong Ma Bai. He was talented and came from a good family. Therefore, he was very rich. Li Xiaolu was not a proper woman. Before she met Sikong Ma Bai, she was already a veteran in love. Therefore, she was very good at pleasing Sikong Ma Bai. Later on, when Li Xiaolu saw Shui Yuexin, she would show off in front of Shui Yuexin. Mainly, she wanted to humiliate Shui Yuexin. Now that she saw Shui Yuexin here, she naturally wanted to humiliate Shui Yuexin. Even Lin Feng, who was with Shui Yuexin, had been humiliated. Li Xiaolu looked at the angry Shui Yuexin with a condescending attitude and said, "A pauper will always be a pauper. This is a very high-end place, but you're making a big fuss here. You really have no manners. I'll have to talk to the boss here in the future. People with low status like you can't be allowed in. You'll disturb us, the real guests." You, being humiliated by Li Xiaolu. Shui Yuexin was so angry that her face turned green. She pointed at Li Xiaolu and said, "You've been mumbling for a long time." But she didn't know how to refute Li Xiaolu. This world is very cruel. If you don't have money, you will be looked down upon wherever you go. Don't you? I don't even want to talk to a lowly person like you. That's simply a disgrace to my status. Li Xiaolu had an arrogant look on her face as she turned to look at Sikong Ma Bai. She said coquettishly, "Young master, you said that you will buy that black gold sword for me. You're a man, so you must keep your word, right?" Li Xiaolu said as she hugged Sikong Ma Bai's arm and swung it back and forth. Her coquettish voice was so coquettish that it made one want to vomit. "You little slut. When have I ever lied to you?" Sikong Ma Bai laughed loudly. After hearing Sikong Ma Bai's words, Li Xiaolu immediately became excited and looked at Shui Yuexin with a smug look. Sikong Ma Bai said, "Wrap up the black gold sword. This young master wants it." "All right, young master Sikong." At this moment, the elder in charge of the business on this floor came over and said. This elder was called Gong Sun Qing, a middle-aged cultivator in the prime of his life. He had a square face and a smooth and slick appearance. Gong Sun Qing quickly ordered the staff to wrap up the black gold sword. After that, Sikong Ma Bai took out 10 million immortal stones and handed it to Gong Sun Qing. "Young master, let's go," Shui Yuexin said softly. She didn't want to stay in this place where she had been humiliated. "There's no hurry," Lin Feng said. Lin Feng pointed at a jade hairpin on the counter and asked, "What's so special about that jade hairpin?" Although Gong Sun Qing didn't think that Lin Feng could buy that jade hairpin, he was a shrewd person and knew that he couldn't afford to offend people when doing business. Therefore, he continued to introduce the hairpin to Lin Feng with a smile. This jade hairpin is made from immortal mother jade that has been formed for tens of millions of years. It's an immortal-grade defensive treasure. Young master, you should know that immortal-grade defensive treasures are more expensive than offensive treasures. Therefore, this jade hairpin is worth 40 million immortal stones. What about the 3 small swords in the box? Lin Feng continued asking. These 3 small swords are called the Qinkuan Immortal Swords. It's said that they are a combination-type, immortal-grade weapon forged by the Qinkuan Holy Emperor. Once the 3 swords are activated, they can resonate with each other and become extremely powerful. This combination-type, immortal-grade sword set is worth 100 million immortal stones. Gong Sun Qing continued. Shui Yuexin, Li Xiaolu, and Sikong Ma Bai couldn't help but gasp when they heard the price. 100 million immortal stones. What an astronomical figure. Even though Sikong Ma Bai came from a large family, he could only use about 30 million immortal stones. 30 million immortal stones could only buy an ordinary immortal-grade weapon. You can't afford it. Why are you asking so many questions? Elder Gongsun, why do you have to pay attention to these lowly paupers? You're just wasting your breath. Li Xiaolu looked at Lin Feng with a mocking expression. Sikong Mabai said, as a person, you should know your place. Don't do things that will only bring shame to yourself. Clearly, Sikong Mabai was mocking Lin Feng. Gong Sun Qing couldn't help but smile bitterly. In his opinion, Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin had indeed brought shame to themselves by offending Li Xiaolu and Sikong Mabai. Lin Feng ignored the two of them. Instead, he flicked his finger. In an instant, 14 rivers of immortal stones flew out. Each river was made up of 10 million immortal stones. The rivers of immortal stones emitted extremely dense immortal qi. Everyone in the shop couldn't help but look over. When they saw the 140 million immortal stones, they couldn't help but be shocked. Many of them had never seen so many immortal stones in their entire lives. Lin Feng said indifferently, I want that jade hairpin and the 3 immortal swords. Young master wants them? Young master, you really want them? Gong Sun Qing asked in disbelief. These 2 sets of immortal-grade weapons had been here for thousands of years, and no one had bought them. Moreover, immortal-grade treasures were very difficult to sell, especially when they were worth 140 million immortal stones. Chapter 4902. Oh my God! Who is that young master? How could he be so rich? This young master looks unfamiliar. He should be a foreign cultivator, right? He casually took out 140 million immortal stones. He's really rich. His family must have a few thousand immortal mines, right? Just now, Li Xiaolu and Sikong Mabai actually looked down on that young master. Now I know that they are just clowns in front of that young master. Compared to that young master, they are simply paupers. That young master didn't even care about their provocation. I originally thought that young master didn't have much confidence. Now I know that young master doesn't even care to do that. Who is that young master? He can't be bothered to argue with people like Li Xiaolu and Sikong Mabai. They don't deserve it. At this moment, the surrounding cultivators also started discussing. Everyone was guessing Lin Feng's identity and was extremely curious about Lin Feng, especially many beautiful female cultivators. When they saw a young, handsome, and rich young master like Lin Feng, they couldn't wait to use their charming techniques to charm Lin Feng. If Lin Feng curled his finger, a large group of female cultivators would definitely throw themselves at him. As for Li Xiaolu and Sikong Mabai, their faces alternated between red and white. There was no need for Lin Feng to humiliate them. The discussions of the surrounding cultivators made them want to vomit blood. The two of them felt that the surrounding cultivators were looking at them with ridicule and disdain. What was a slap in the face? A real slap in the face didn't require the other party to do it personally. The surrounding cultivators' discussion was like a slap to their faces. Shui Yuexin was also shocked. She knew that Lin Feng was generous, but she didn't expect Lin Feng to be so rich. 140 million immortal stones. He took it out so casually. He didn't even frown. It was really unbelievable. Lin Feng looked at Gong Sun Qing and said, I've already taken out the immortal stones. Do you think I'll lie to you? Quickly wrap up the 2 sets of immortal artifacts for me. At this moment, Gong Sun Qing also recovered from his deep shock. He quickly apologized and said, Sorry. I was rude just now. Please forgive me, young master. Lin Feng waved his hand, indicating that he didn't care. Gong Sun Qing took 140 million immortal stones. He was so happy that his heart was about to bloom. As the person in charge of the 2 sets of the immortal artifacts, he could get 1% commission. That was a commission of 4 million immortal stones. He could wake up from his dreams. Gong Sun Qing wrapped the 2 celestial weapons and handed them to Lin Feng. Said Lin Feng indifferently. It's not for me, it's for you Exine Celestial. What? For the water fairy? Gong Sun Qing's 140 million immortal stones for 2 sets of immortal artifacts. Gong Sun Qing felt that he was in a complete mess. The surrounding cultivators who were watching the show also felt that they were in a complete mess. Li Xiaolu and Sikong Mabai also felt their minds go blank. Those were 2 sets of immortal artifacts worth 140 million immortal stones. It was too extravagant for them to use. They were given away so casually. What was going on? Shui Yuexin's pink lips opened slightly. She was extremely shocked, because she didn't expect. Lin Feng gave the 2 sets of immortal artifacts to her. However, Shui Yuexin quickly regained her senses. Li Xiaolu and Sikong Mabai thought that Lin Feng was her man. So when they humiliated her, they also humiliated Lin Feng. Lin Feng was probably trying to humiliate them on purpose. It was a good chance to give her some face. The 2 sets of immortal artifacts were just temporarily kept by her. Thinking of this, Shui Yuexin felt relieved, but she was still a little disappointed. How great would it be if Lin Feng was really her man? But this was just a wishful thinking. A man like Lin Feng, what kind of woman didn't he have? How could he be interested in her? What are you waiting for? Hurry up and give the 2 sets of immortal artifacts to Fairy Yuexin. Lin Feng looked at Gong Sunqing and said. Gong Sunqing recovered and knew that he had lost his composure. He was considered a person who had seen the world, but today was the first time he saw such a situation. It was no wonder that he was a little distracted. Gong Sunqing recovered and handed the 2 sets of immortal artifacts to Shui Yuexin. Then he said, Fairy Shui, these are your immortal artifacts. Thank you. Shui Yuexin took the immortal artifacts and said, You flatter me, you flatter me. Fairy, please don't flatter me, said Gong Sunqing hastily. He knew that if Shui Yuexin and Lin Feng got together, she would become a phoenix. Life was precious. Shui Yuexin is really lucky to have found such a man. Yeah, she's going to be rich. Many cultivators discussed. This Shui Yuexin isn't that pretty. She's not even as pretty as me. How did she find such a good man? Shui Yuexin is a vixen. She must have used some seductive techniques to seduce that young master. Some female cultivators started discussing. They were purely jealous of Shui Yuexin because it was rare to see a woman as beautiful and charming as Shui Yuexin. Let's go. Li Xiaolu tugged at Sikong Mabai's clothes and said. She originally wanted to humiliate Shui Yuexin. Who would have thought that, in the end, she was humiliated by Shui Yuexin? She thought about how many times she had begged Sikong Mabai to buy the incomplete immortal artifact. She even used all sorts of tricks to please Sikong Mabai. She finally got Sikong Mabai to agree to buy the sword for her. But what about Shui Yuexin? She didn't even ask for the 2 sets of immortal artifacts. Shui Yuexin's man bought the 2 immortal artifacts for her. Li Xiaolu was so jealous of Shui Yuexin that she was about to die. Sikong Mabai's expression was extremely ugly. He couldn't stay in this place any longer. He could imagine that the news would spread very soon. By then, he would become the laughingstock of many people. Thinking of this, Sikong Mabai developed a deep hatred for Lin Feng. He glanced at Lin Feng in an ice-cold way and immediately left with Li Xiaolu. Lin Feng looked at Shui Yuexin and said with a smile, Let's walk around and see if there's anything good. Chapter 4903. The surrounding cultivators also dispersed, but many of them were still discussing what had just happened. At this moment, a beautiful female cultivator with a seductive figure walked over. It was unknown if it was intentional, but when she walked to Lin Feng's side, she accidentally sprained her ankle and fell towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng, on the other hand, leaned to the side. The female cultivator instantly fell to the ground. He did not even look at the female cultivator as he walked around her and continued to walk forward. The female cultivator looked at Lin Feng with an aggrieved gaze. Shui Yuexin could not help but laugh. One had to admit that this woman was beautiful to begin with, but when she laughed, she looked even better. She was simply too mesmerizing. Lin Feng could feel his heart beating slightly faster. To Lin Feng, beautiful women were not enough to attract him. Sometimes, he needed a feeling, or a factor that could make his heart beat faster. What are you laughing at? Lin Feng looked at Shui Yuexin and asked. She clearly wanted to throw herself into your arms. You should have taken the initiative to support her just now. Then, the 2 of you could have started a relationship? Shui Yuexin said. Perhaps it was because she was from the demon clan, but she was more daring in her words. Lin Feng said, Fairy, do you really think that I'm the kind of person who can't lift my legs when I see a beautiful woman? Shui Yuexin said, Of course not. You're a gentleman and a good person. You know how to be considerate and care for others. Thank you for your help just now. When we return, I'll return the 2 sets of immortal equipment to you. Lin Feng said, those 2 sets of immortal equipment are for you. Ah, for me? Didn't you ask me to keep them temporarily? Shui Yuexin's charming face was filled with disbelief. Lin Feng said, you're overthinking it. I said I'll give them to you, so I'll give them to you. After hearing Lin Feng's words, Shui Yuexin's heart could not help but be in a complete mess. Immortal equipment worth 140 million immortal stones. That was a sky-high price. He didn't know if he would be able to earn that many immortal stones in his lifetime. Lin Feng had casually given it to him. Why did he give such a valuable gift to her? Could it be? Did she fall for him? Thinking of this, Shui Yuexin felt her heartbeat quicken. What kind of woman couldn't he get? Would she like him? However, Shui Yuexin started to doubt herself again. She was not confident enough. I'm not bad looking, right? And her figure is not bad, right? Young master taking a liking to me isn't something unbelievable, right? Soon, another voice sounded in Shui Yuexin's heart. At that very moment, Shui Yuexin was having a battle in her heart. One moment, it was self-affirmation, and the next moment, it was self-denial. Lin Feng didn't know what Lin Feng was thinking about, but he didn't think too much about it. As for the previous matter, he didn't put it in his heart. What's done is done. Lin Feng naturally didn't care about 2 insignificant characters. There were many treasures here, but Lin Feng wasn't interested in many of them. After taking a stroll outside, Gongsun Qing came to Lin Feng's side and said respectfully, Young master, my master would like to invite you for a cup of spirit tea. Do you have time? Lin Feng had nothing to do, so he agreed. He and Shui Yuexin followed Gongsun Qing to the 4th floor. When they reached the 4th floor, Gongsun Qing led Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin to a VIP lounge. When he arrived, he found that there was only a young woman in a pink dress here. This young woman's figure was plump and charming, but her face looked very pure. Judging from her dressing, could it be that a woman of her age still had the heart of a young girl? There was a saying that one could tell a person's character from the way they dressed. Lin Feng felt that this saying was very suitable for the woman in front of him. She wasn't a teenage girl, but she dressed even more girly than a teenage girl. Either she had the heart of a young girl, or she liked to pretend to be pure. Lin Feng leaned towards the latter. Of course, he wouldn't say that out loud. I'm Lu Shaoqing. Greetings, young master. The young woman came to Lin Feng's side and bowed to Lin Feng. Her voice was sweet and seductive. There's no need to be so courteous, Lin Feng said. The young woman stood up and invited Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin to take a seat. She then asked, How should I address you, young master? Lin Feng said, My name is Ji. The young woman thought that Lin Feng's surname was Ji, so she smiled and said, So it's young master Ji. Sister Yuexin is so lucky to have found a man like you. She will be blessed in the future. Clearly, this woman called Lu Shaoqing knew Shui Yuexin. It wasn't surprising. They were both from Little Western Paradise, so it was normal for them to know each other. After hearing Lu Shaoqing's words, Shui Yuexin wanted to explain her relationship with Lin Feng. However, when she saw Lin Feng's gesture, she understood and didn't say anything. Although she didn't know why Lin Feng didn't let her explain, Shui Yuexin was very happy. At least in the eyes of others, she and Lin Feng were lovers, and Lin Feng didn't refute this in front of others. Young master, are you here to participate in the trade fair organized by evil monk Yuanji? Lu Shaoqing asked curiously. Lin Feng nodded and said, That's my intention. I think it's about time. After we finish this cup of tea, we'll wait for a while. When the time comes, I'll bring young master along, Lu Shaoqing said with a smile. Shui Yuexin was a little unhappy because Lu Shaoqing's reputation wasn't very good. Moreover, she could bring Lin Feng along. When Lu Shaoqing said that she wanted to bring Lin Feng along, Shui Yuexin naturally knew what Lu Shaoqing's intentions were. If Shui Yuexin was really Lin Feng's woman, she could have objected and told Lu Shaoqing that Lin Feng was her man, so Lu Shaoqing shouldn't have any ideas. However, Shui Yuexin knew that there was nothing between her and Lin Feng. Moreover, they hadn't known each other for a long time, so they could only be considered friends. Therefore, she couldn't reject Lu Shaoqing on behalf of Lin Feng. Then I'll have to trouble you, Lin Feng didn't think too much about it and said casually, It's my honor to serve young master. Chapter 4904. Lin Feng was a knowledgeable person, so he had great self-control. There were many things he didn't say not because he didn't know, but because he didn't want to. Sometimes, turning a blind eye to things could make everyone happy. Only someone with too much time on their hands would cause trouble for no reason. Thus, Lin Feng was speechless when he saw those who liked to bully others. It was a good thing that they didn't cause trouble for him, or he would have beaten them to a pulp. After finishing the tea, someone came to inform Lu Shaoqing that evil monk Yuanji's business was done. Everyone could go to Yuanji evil monk now. Lu Shaoqing got up and smiled. Young noble Ji, Sister Yuanxin, let's go now. Lin Feng nodded. Lu Shaoqing led the way to the trading area. Lin Feng was a bit hesitant. The monk's name was quite strange. Why did he have to use Yuanji? In Buddhism, the word Yuanji meant death. These two words were quite taboo, but it was clear that evil monk Yuanji didn't mind these things. Perhaps he wasn't a real monk in essence. When Lin Feng arrived at the trading hall, there were already many cultivators there. The cultivator sitting on the main seat was a burly man. How should it be described? The burly man had a fierce face, but he was bald. He did not have the benevolent appearance of a Buddhist monk. Instead, he looked more like a fierce and ruthless person. This must be evil monk Yuanji. There was a woman kneeling on his left and right. Both of them were in the monk's embrace. Two more women were massaging the monk. When Lin Feng's group arrived, many people stared at Lin Feng in surprise. This was because Lin Feng was flanked by two peerless beauties. Both Lu Shaoqing and Shui Yuanxin were exceedingly beautiful. It made people's hearts palpitate. But now that she had accompanied Lin Feng here, everyone was very curious. Many people were guessing the identity of Lin Feng. Naturally, there were also some who had witnessed how Lin Feng had bought 2 sets of immortal artifacts to humiliate Li Xiaolu and Sikong Ma Bai. However, they still did not recognize Lin Feng. Evil monk Yuanji's eyes lit up when he saw Lu Shaoqing and Shui Yuanxin. Buddhist precepts. Lust. However, evil monk Yuanji clearly did not have such taboos. After seeing Lu Shaoqing and Shui Yuanxin, he immediately felt that the 4 women beside him were all ordinary. Scram! Let the 2 fairies sit here. Yuanji evil monk pushed away the 2 women beside him. He had bought them with money. They were equivalent to his slaves, at his mercy. Even if he gave the 2 women away or killed them, no one would say anything. The 2 women trembled in fear and quickly retreated to the back. The 2 women who were massaging evil monk Yuanji were also frightened. Evil monk Yuanji was temperamental. Naturally, they were very worried about their fate. Lu Shaoqing said, "We won't go to the master's side. We can sit here." Lin Feng found a place to sit down. Lu Shaoqing and Shui Yuanxin sat on Lin Feng's left and right respectively. Many people could not help but feel excited when they saw this scene. Of course, everyone knew Lu Shaoqing and Shui Yuanxin. The 2 of them were famous beauties in the little western paradise city. They were the goddesses in many people's hearts. Now, the 2 of them were accompanying Lin Feng. It was really enviable. Evil monk Yuanji glanced at Lin Feng with his gloomy eyes before retracting his gaze. After waiting for another hour, many people came one after another. Lu Shaoqing said, "It's about time. The trade fair can begin." Evil monk Yuanji took out all kinds of things. There were bottles of Buddhist resin, kasaya, wooden fish, Buddhist beads, Buddha statues, demon-subduing puppet, sarira, Bodhi beads, and other treasures. After seeing those treasures, many people's eyes widened. In fact, the power of these Buddhist treasures might not be as powerful as some of the treasures in the hands of cultivators. But the key was that these Buddhist treasures could restrain the evil ghosts. In the world of cultivators, evil ghosts were very common. Ordinary magic treasures could not restrain those evil ghosts. Therefore, when cultivators encountered evil ghosts, they would die without a burial place if they were not careful. But if they had the Buddhist treasures, the situation would be completely different. At that time, when they activated the Buddhist treasures, they could restrain the attacks of those evil ghosts. In fact, it could even kill those evil ghosts. Therefore, Buddhist treasures were extremely precious to any cultivator. However, it was more difficult for cultivators in the outside world to obtain Buddhist treasures. This was because Buddhist treasures were rarely circulated, especially those top treasures, which were even more difficult to circulate. Now, these Buddhist treasures would naturally cause a lot of people to fight over them. Buddhist treasure Kasaya, 500,000 immortal stones. Buddhist treasure, wooden fish, 300,000 immortal stones. Demon subduing puppet, 800,000 immortal stones. Buddhist treasure, Buddha statue, 1,500,000 immortal stones. Ordinary Buddhist resin, 1 million immortal stones. Medium Buddhist resin, 2 million immortal stones. High Buddhist resin, 5 million immortal stones. Buddhist Sarira, ordinary Sarira, 2 million immortal stones. Medium Sarira, 4 million immortal stones. And high Sarira, 8 million immortal stones. Evil monk Yuanji introduced the prices of various Buddhist treasures to everyone. Someone frowned and said, "Your prices are too expensive. Many things are several times more expensive than the black market. That's too outrageous." Evil monk Yuanji said faintly, "Ridiculous, my ass. How can my treasures be compared to those in the black market? They're completely different in terms of quality. Moreover, Buddhist treasures rarely appear in the black market. Even if they do appear, you won't be able to buy them because they'll be snatched away by the major factions with connections. But you can buy the treasures you like from me. So what if they're a little more expensive? Life is the most precious thing. I'm sure you all understand this principle. I'll take those 9 bottles of Buddhist resin." Lin Feng took out 24 million immortal stones and handed them to evil monk Yuanji, then took the 9 bottles of Buddhist resin. Of the 9 bottles of Buddha resin, 3 were ordinary Buddha resin, 3 were medium Buddha resin, and 3 were high Buddha resin. Buddhist resin could be used to dispel Yin ghosts or during cultivation. These 9 bottles could be used for a period of time. Chapter 4905. Brat, you're going to take all of it by yourself? I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it. Someone frowned. Clearly, he wanted to buy the resin as well. Lin Feng nonchalantly said, "I've already bought it. Do you have a problem with that?" Seeing that Lin Feng wasn't someone to be trifled with, the other party didn't dare to say anything else. The evil monk said, "There are only so many things. First come, first serve. If you can't get it, you can only blame yourself for being too slow. No wonder others acted so quickly, and no wonder those who acted so quickly swept everything clean." Many cultivators no longer hesitated after hearing this and began to buy the treasures they wanted. Soon, the items brought by evil monk Yuanji were sold out by all the cultivators. Someone asked, "I heard that evil monk Yuanji brought a sacred ancestor Buddha stone. I wonder if it's true?" The evil monk said, "Of course it's true." As soon as he finished speaking, Yuanji waved his hand and a blood-stained rock flew out. That blood-stained stone was very special. Surrounded by Buddhist light, anyone could feel a very special charm of the great Tao from the stone. This was because the Tao aura was too powerful. It was clearly the sacred ancestor Buddha stone. Many people's eyes lit up after seeing the sacred ancestor Buddha stone. This stone was stained with the blood of a Buddha, so it was equivalent to a supreme treasure of the Buddhist faith. Moreover, it contained the grand Tao of the Buddhist faith. If one could comprehend it, the benefits would be endless. However, no one knew what kind of Tao it contained. "How much is the stone?" someone impatiently asked, wanting to get his hands on this supreme treasure. Yuanji evil monk said, "The sacred ancestor Buddha stone will be auctioned off. The highest bidder wins." "What's the starting price?" someone asked. "Hee, 10 million immortal stones." The evil monk laughed. Many people couldn't help but frown. The starting price was 10 million immortal stones. This price was truly too high. No one knew how many immortal stones it would cost, but even with such a high price, there were still many people who wanted to fight for it. That was because the other party also knew how precious the sacred ancestor Buddha stone was. If they could obtain the sacred ancestor Buddha stone, they would definitely be able to obtain it. If they could get their hands on it, they would gain endless benefits. 100 million. Just when everyone was complacent and wanted to participate in the bidding, a voice suddenly sounded. After hearing this voice, many people's faces turned green. The one who bid 100 million was none other than Lin Feng. Others naturally became depressed after seeing Lin Feng's outrageous bid. Lin Feng looked as if he was determined to get it. Moreover, the news of Lin Feng spending 140 million immortal stones to win the smile of a beauty spread in the hall. Because of this, it was too difficult to compete with Lin Feng. Therefore, many cultivators who originally wanted to bid didn't compete with Lin Feng. This is a good item. Everyone, hurry up and bid. UNG heretic monk became anxious. He estimated that the final price of the sacred ancestor Buddhist stone would be around 200 million to 300 million. If no one joined the bidding, it wouldn't reach his ideal price. However, no one was willing to bid against Lin Feng. Even after hearing evil monk Yunji's instigation, the surrounding cultivators remained silent. He did not participate in the bidding. After waiting for a while, Lu Shaoqing said, "Master, since no one else is bidding, can we conclude the deal with young Master Ji now?" Evil monk Yunji's face darkened. Although he was unwilling, there was no other way. After all, he still had to do business here in the future. It would be bad if his reputation was ruined. Evil monk Yunji said with a fake smile, "Of course we have a deal. If this benefactor takes out 100 million immortal stones, this saintly ancestor Buddha stone will be yours." Lin Feng nodded and handed 100 million immortal stones to the monk. He then kept the sacred ancestor Buddha stone. It wasn't a good time to study it now. It wouldn't be too late to do so after returning to his residence. "Everyone, the trade fair is over. You may leave now," Lu Shaoqing said. Everyone stood up and prepared to leave. At this time, evil monk Yunji looked at Lu Shaoqing and Shui Yuexin and said with a smile, "Fairy Lu, Fairy Shui, do you want to go sightseeing with this poor monk? I still have some good things that I haven't taken out yet. I can give them to the two fairies when the time comes." Many people cursed evil monk Yunji in their hearts. It was really a misfortune for Buddhism to have such a person. Everyone knew why he invited Lu Shaoqing and Shui Yuexin to sightsee. Lu Shaoqing said, "Aya, I'm really sorry. We have already made an appointment with young Master Ji tonight to discuss poetry and songs. Therefore, we can't agree to Master's request." Poetry and songs? Discuss poetry and songs? Who are you trying to fool? Many people muttered in their hearts. They looked at Lin Feng with envy and jealousy. Clearly, everyone thought that Lin Feng wanted to enjoy the blessings of having multiple partners. However, there was no point in being envious. After all, Lin Feng was young, talented, handsome, and rich. If they were women, they would also like a man like Lin Feng. Lin Feng couldn't help but rub his nose, feeling a bit depressed. Lu Shaoqing was using him as a shield. However, Lin Feng didn't care about this. It didn't matter anyway. Moreover, Lu Shaoqing's words could help Shui Yuexin get rid of evil monk Yunji. "Have you made an appointment with this brat?" "That's easy." Evil monk Yunji pointed at Lin Feng. He then walked towards Lin Feng and said, "Brat, tonight, I want to go sightseeing with the two fairies. You don't have any objections, right? Sightseeing? Sorry, I have already made an appointment with the two fairies." Lin Feng said indifferently. "Are you not going to give me face?" Evil monk Yunji's eyes flashed with coldness. "Young master, try not to offend him," Shui Yuexin whispered to Lin Feng. She was worried that Lin Feng would be in big trouble after offending evil monk Yunji. After all, evil monk Yunji was very powerful. Moreover, these monks had strange means. Offending them was not a wise move. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Don't worry." He then looked at evil monk Yunji and said, "Who do you think you are? You think you're worthy of me giving you face?" The moment Lin Feng said that, the surroundings became silent. Chapter 4906. In everyone's opinion, Lin Feng was indeed extremely wealthy. However, they speculated that Lin Feng had so many immortal stones because Lin Feng might have obtained some great fortuitous encounter. Secondly, Lin Feng might have come from a top faction. That was why he had so many immortal stones. However, having immortal stones didn't mean one was strong. The evil monks and demonic monks of the Western Heaven region had always been fearless. After killing someone, they would run back to the Western Heaven region. Even the heavenly court didn't dare to attack them in the Western Heaven region. Therefore, even if Lin Feng had a powerful faction backing him, he wasn't much of a threat to the evil monks of the Western Heaven region. Everyone knew that. The evil monks and demonic monks of the Western Heaven region couldn't be offended. It wouldn't end well for anyone who offended them. In everyone's opinion, Lin Feng must be aware of this. However, even though Lin Feng knew that, he was still acting arrogantly in front of evil monk Yuanji. He didn't care about evil monk Yuanji at all. Therefore, everybody was astonished. Lin Feng was a young cultivator. How could he act so arrogantly in front of evil monk Yuanji? Did he think that the evil monk wouldn't dare to touch him because he had a powerful faction backing him? If that was the case, then he couldn't be more wrong. Good boy. You're arrogant enough, but you chose the wrong person. I'll make you kneel on the ground and kowtow to me later. The evil monk's face darkened when he heard Lin Feng's words. He then looked at Lin Feng with a chilling gaze. As soon as he finished speaking, the evil monk leaped out and slapped at Lin Feng. "Watch out, young master!" Shui Yuexin couldn't help but exclaim. She was worried that Lin Feng would be at a disadvantage. Lu Shaoqing squinted at Lin Feng. She wasn't as naive as Shui Yuexin. He had always been suspicious of Lin Feng's identity and cultivation. Now was the perfect time to observe Lin Feng's strength. Evil monk Yuanji's hand was about to reach Lin Feng, but at that moment, Lin Feng dodged to the left. Lin Feng dodged evil monk Yuanji's punch easily and threw a kick at him. A muffled sound of collision was heard. Lin Feng's kick landed on the evil monk's abdomen. The evil monk screamed and was sent flying, knocking over many tables and chairs. He lay sprawled on the ground while spitting out blood. Clearly, the injury from Lin Feng's kick wasn't light. After seeing this scene, everyone was completely dumbfounded. Evil monk Yuanji was a celestial cultivator, and Lin Feng had just kicked him away. Wasn't this a little too unbelievable? Shui Yuexin's mouth was slightly agape. Her eyes were filled with shock. She didn't expect Lin Feng to be so strong. Gasps could be heard coming from the trading hall. "You're courting death. Consider that kick a lesson for you. Don't offend me again. I'll send you to the Western Pure Land to meet Buddha." Lin Feng sneered. Evil monk Yuanji stood up and looked at Lin Feng in fear. He knew he had bitten off more than he could chew. Therefore, the evil monk didn't dare to say anything else. Lin Feng then walked out of the trading hall. The cultivators in the area also dispersed. However, many of them were still talking about what had just happened. Lu Shaoqing looked at Lin Feng and said, "Young master, don't leave tonight. Why don't you stay here and recite some poems? Won't that be fun?" Lu Shaoqing had used this as an excuse to reject the evil monk. But now, Lu Shaoqing officially invited Lin Feng. Shui Yuexin cursed Lu Shaoqing for being a vixen. She only knew how to seduce Lin Feng. In fact, she had forgotten that she was a vixen. Lin Feng said, "It's getting late. I can't stay for too long. Let's meet again in the future if we have time." Lin Feng then walked out of the trading hall. When Shui Yuexin saw that Lin Feng had rejected Lu Shaoqing, she was happy. She quickly caught up with Lin Feng. She walked faster than before. Interesting. This man really makes me feel a little excited." Lu Shaoqing narrowed her eyes and looked at Lin Feng. Her lips curled into a charming smile. He left the black market. Lin Feng returned to his residence. Shui Yuexin followed Lin Feng to Lin Feng's residence. She smiled and said, "Lu Shaoqing seems to be interested in young master. I guess she will send me away halfway and find a chance to be alone with young master." Lin Feng smiled and said, "Is that so? I can't guess what she will do. I'll have to trouble you today. It's getting late. You should go back and rest." Hearing Lin Feng asking her to go back, Shui Yuexin felt a little disappointed. She wanted to stay with Lin Feng for a while. In his heart, he was even vaguely anticipating some things to happen. However, Lin Feng didn't do what she expected. "Then I'll go back first. Young master must be very tired. You should rest early," Shui Yuexin said. "Okay." Lin Feng nodded. He sent Shui Yuexin out of the courtyard and went back. Shui Yuexin looked at Lin Feng's courtyard with resentment and then walked towards the beast carriage not far away. Back in the room, Lin Feng took out the sacred ancestor Buddha stone. The blood on the sacred ancestor Buddha stone had dried up long ago. However, it still contained a powerful Buddhist nature. When one calmed down, one could vaguely hear the chanting of ancient Buddhas resounding in the world. This sacred ancestor Buddha stone is really extraordinary. I wonder what kind of secret is hidden in it. Lin Feng couldn't help but murmur to himself. He sat down cross-legged and held the sacred ancestor Buddha stone in his hand. He tried to feel the Tao in the sacred ancestor Buddha stone. However, Lin Feng tried many times but couldn't feel the Tao in the sacred ancestor Buddha stone. However, Lin Feng didn't give up because of the failure. He continued to feel the Tao in the sacred ancestor Buddha stone. Time passed slowly, and no one knew how long had passed. Lin Feng felt that there was a lot of divine power in the world. He was wrapped in the divine power, and it felt very comfortable. Namo Amitabha. Chapter 4907. Lin Feng opened his eyes when the old voice rang out. He immediately saw a world of darkness before him. Endless darkness shrouded the land. A lone temple was emitting endless Buddhist light. The darkness wanted to devour the temple, but it was unsuccessful. Kikik. A sinister and terrifying laughter rang out from the darkness. There was clearly an extremely terrifying creature in the darkness. Suddenly, a strong wind blew between heaven and earth. The sweeping storm swept towards the lone temple, wanting to destroy it. But at this moment, an old monk appeared above the temple. Behind the old monk, there was an endless amount of Buddhist light. The halos made him look even more sacred. This was an eminent monk who had achieved the Tao. Moreover, his status in Buddhism was probably extremely high. Even Lin Feng felt that the old monk gave off a holy and otherworldly feeling. He couldn't help but want to kneel down and worship the old monk. Infinite Monk. After the old monk appeared, he put his palms together. Although his voice was old, it was filled with righteousness and holiness. Moreover, his voice was very strong and powerful. As soon as the old monk's voice fell, the storm that was sweeping in from all directions disappeared completely. Old Bald Donkey, your methods are really brilliant. The creature hidden in the darkness said coldly. He had been besieging the temple for a long time, but he couldn't take it down. The old monk that appeared just now wasn't the old monk's original body. It was just an incarnation. The old monk didn't respond to the mysterious creature in the darkness. Rumble. At this moment, huge stars fell from the sky in the darkness. Due to the intense friction with the air when the huge stars fell, those huge stars burned. Those huge stars smashed towards the temple. It was an extremely terrifying divine ability. It summoned meteorites from outer space and then attacked the target fiercely. Vajra Light Shield. At this moment, the old monk's voice rang out. A huge golden light shield appeared and enveloped the temple. Bang, bang, bang. The huge stars smashed into the golden light shield, and an earth-shaking collision sound was heard. The power of the golden light shield was truly terrifying. It was actually able to withstand the collisions of one star after another. All the attacks of the stars were blocked by the golden light shield. Slash. An exasperated voice came from the darkness. Clearly, the creature in the darkness was extremely angry. He used all sorts of methods to attack the temple. This caused him to feel a deep sense of humiliation. At that very moment, he took out a treasured sword. It was actually an ancient weapon. The power of that ancient weapon was simply too terrifying. With the ancient weapon in his hand, he slashed at the temple, intending to destroy it. At this moment, in the great strength hall inside the temple, an old monk put his palms together. And at this moment, outside, above the temple, the old monk that appeared did the exact same thing as the old monk in the Hall of Great Strength. He suddenly clasped his hands together. When the terrifying swordlight of the ancient weapon came flying over at a high speed, Yi Zichen was shocked. The old monk that appeared above the temple clamped down on the dazzling sword light with both hands. What powerful strength! Lin Feng was shocked. The old monk was indeed too powerful. He actually displayed such shocking combat strength. He was truly worthy of being a Buddha. A Buddha was also very rare in Buddhism. What kind of Buddhist monk could be called a Buddha? The present, past, and future Buddhas could be called Buddhas. In addition, The 7 great ancient Buddhas could also be called Buddhas. Of course, in the long history of Buddhism, there were definitely other experts who could be called Buddhas. However, such existences were too rare. And the old monk in front of him was such a powerful existence. The mysterious creature in the darkness seemed extremely irritable. He kept roaring and his eyes flashed with killing intent. After the old monk blocked the opponent's attack, he continued to sit cross-legged and prepared to deal with the opponent's next attack. Obviously, the old monk was not moving to deal with the situation. No matter what the creature in the darkness used, he had a way to deal with it. The old monk's methods were indeed very extraordinary. At that moment, a middle-aged monk came to the old monk's side and said, "Master, you've been fighting for a long time, and your magic power has been greatly depleted. Disciple has the holy spring water here that can quickly recover your magic power. Master, drink some of the holy spring water." The middle-aged monk took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to the old monk. That porcelain bottle probably contained the holy spring water. "Thank you, disciple," said the old monk. He opened the bottle and began to drink the holy spring water. However, at that moment, a dagger suddenly appeared in the middle-aged monk's hand. He stabbed the dagger at the old monk's back, wanting to stab the old monk to death. How could it be so easy to sneak up on an expert like the old monk? The old monk grabbed the middle-aged monk's wrist and asked, "Master." He then asked, "Fa Ming, what are you doing?" "Kikik, my lord master. Don't you know what I'm doing?" The middle-aged monk laughed sinisterly. "You've sided with them." The old monk seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed drastically. "Yes, Lord Master, I've sided with them. If I don't, only death will await me. I don't want to die. Lord Master, why don't you side with them as well? With Lord Master's strength, if you side with them, you'll definitely be put in an important position." The middle-aged monk laughed sinisterly. "Master, do you know what you're talking about?" The old monk said angrily, enraged at Xiao Qin's failure to fight. "Master, you can get angry as well? This is the first time I've seen you get angry." Master Dharma continued to speak in a sinister tone. Clearly, the old monk was angry because of his disciple. The old monk said, "I picked you up in the mountains. At that time, you were just a baby in swaddling clothes. I thought that after all these years of Buddhism's teachings, you would definitely have a kind heart and be devoted to Buddhism. Who would have thought that you would still fall into the demonic path?" Chapter 4908. Dharma Ming was abandoned in a barren mountain when he was still an infant. He was the demon infant. He was picked up by the old monk. At that time, many people persuaded the old monk to put the demon infant in the forest and let him fend for himself. That was the best home for him. However, the old monk was kind-hearted and could not bear to see a young life die like that. Therefore, he brought the demon infant back to the temple. He also taught the demon infant since he was young. The demon infant was the current Dharma Ming. All these years, Dharma Ming had always been very good and compassionate. However, in the end, he still went astray. This made the old monk's heart ache. He originally wanted to turn a demon into an immortal, but things did not go as he wished. Moreover, after interacting with Dharma Ming all these years, he naturally had a deep relationship with him. Therefore, when he saw Dharma Ming go astray, the old monk had mixed feelings. Demons can also be good. The old monk said, "I am more willing to be a demon than a human." Dharma Ming said sinisterly, "Then I'll suppress you and use the Buddhist holy technique to cleanse your soul." The old monk said and wanted to suppress Dharma Ming. However, at this moment, Dharma Ming laughed strangely and said, "Old bald donkey, I'll let you have a taste of my holy demon annihilation technique." As soon as he said that, Dharma Ming's body began to swell. He seemed to be about to self-destruct. This was a terrifying technique that Dharma Ming had mastered. When his body self-destructed, it would produce a terrifying destructive force that could destroy the world. And he would be reborn from the flames of self-destruction. This technique was very heaven-defying. It was said that it could only be used 10 times in a lifetime. However, in order to deal with this old monk, Dharma Ming decided to use this trump card. Bang! His body instantly exploded, as the old monk was too close to Dharma Ming. When Dharma Ming chose to self-destruct, it was already too late for the old monk to dodge. Therefore, the destructive force of Dharma Ming's self-destruction instantly drowned the old monk. The great strength hall shook violently. When the aftermath of the energy dissipated, the old monk fell to the ground and coughed up blood. Dharma Ming's self-destruction did not kill him. After all, he was in existence at the level of a Buddha. His strength was too powerful. However, no matter how powerful he was, he had suffered such a serious impact. His body's injuries would also be very serious. What happened? At this time, many monks in the other halls rushed over. They saw the old monk on the ground and Dharma Name, who had just condensed his body. "Old bald donkey, your life is really tough," Fa Ming said sinisterly. "Fa Ming, how dare you sneak attack Master? Fa Ming, how dare you betray Master? You deserve to die." The rest of the monks also understood what was going on, and they all roared out in anger. Then, the monks rushed towards Fa Ming, intending to kill him. But at this moment, endless darkness gushed into the temple. Just now, when the old monk was injured by Dharma Name's sneak attack, the defense system of the entire temple was damaged, so the creature in the darkness seized the opportunity. Darkness. In an instant, it devoured the entire temple. Ah! Horrible shrieks kept coming out of the temple. When Lin Feng heard those shrieks, he couldn't help but sigh. These monks. It's over. In the end, only a blood-stained stone broke through the shroud of darkness and disappeared into the sky. All the scenes came to an abrupt end at this point. Lin Feng knew that the scenes he saw were probably some of the things that happened back then. That blood-stained stone was probably formed by the blood of that Buddha-level old monk after his death. That stone. It was the sacred ancestor Buddha stone. Lin Feng continued to comprehend the Tao recorded in the sacred ancestor Buddha stone. That old monk was so powerful, so the Tao he left behind must be extremely terrifying. Although Lin Feng still didn't know what Tao the old monk left behind, it was definitely a Tao that people looked forward to. If he could obtain that Tao, it would be very useful for his own improvement. Now Lin Feng liked to cultivate some top Tao. The Tao here referred to those top divine abilities, Immortal Sutras, Demon Sutras, and so on. Because after cultivating these divine abilities and cultivation methods, even if it didn't allow him to make a breakthrough in his realm, it would greatly improve his combat strength. This was a powerful accumulation of power. Slowly, Lin Feng heard the chanting of the ancient Buddha. The voice was very old, but it contained the divine sound of the great Tao. After listening to it, it would make people feel refreshed both physically and mentally. It was like a kind of cleansing of the soul. In the end, ancient runes condensed and formed in Lin Feng's mind. Lin Feng began to comprehend these ancient runes. Heavenly Buddha. Soon, Lin Feng showed an incomparably shocked expression. These runes actually recorded an extremely powerful divine ability, and that divine ability was called Heavenly Buddha. This divine ability was created by the old monk of the Buddha realm. When the divine ability of all true Buddhas was activated, one could summon the phantoms of all true Buddhas to support oneself. This was one of the most powerful offensive divine abilities in the history of Buddhism. It was the supreme technique of Buddhism. When Lin Feng woke up from his cultivation, he was surprised. An excited expression appeared on his face. The sacred ancestor Buddha stone actually recorded such a powerful divine ability of Heavenly Buddha. It was really exciting. Lin Feng began to comprehend the divine ability of Heavenly Buddha. Lin Feng's comprehension of the Great Tao was something that ordinary people couldn't reach, so it only took Lin Feng 5 days to learn this divine ability. Lin Feng just came out of seclusion. Someone came to Lin Feng. The person who came to Lin Feng was Lu Xiaoqing's maid. She brought a letter from Lu Xiaoqing. Lin Feng opened Lu Xiaoqing's letter and began to read it. After reading the letter, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. Lu Xiaoqing said that there was an extremely precious treasure and wanted to invite him to appreciate it. What kind of treasure was it? Why was he acting so mysteriously? Lin Feng didn't know what Lu Xiaoqing was up to. However, Lin Feng was still very interested in the treasure that Lu Xiaoqing had mentioned. Moreover, Lin Feng was skilled and daring. Therefore, no matter what tricks Lu Xiaoqing played, Lin Feng would not be afraid. Lin Feng looked at Lu Xiaoqing's maid and said, "Go back and tell Fairy Lu that tonight I will visit Fairy Lu." After the maid received an affirmative answer from Lin Feng, she took her leave. Lin Feng took a bath, changed into a clean set of clothes, and rested for 4 hours. Chapter 4909. Lu Xiaoqing was a mysterious person. Moreover, her reputation had always been bad. Of course, the rumors about her being indecent might be false, but this woman was definitely not simple. 2 hours later, Lin Feng arrived at Lu Xiaoqing's place. Lu Xiaoqing was the person in charge of the Saint Treasure Pavilion, the largest trading place in the black market. Lin Feng was not particularly clear about the background of the Saint Treasure Pavilion. However, since the Saint Treasure Pavilion was able to take root in a large city like the Western Paradise City and was the largest trading place, it was clear that the Saint Treasure Pavilion had the support of a powerful faction. Under the guidance of the servant girl, Lin Feng met Lu Xiaoqing. The servant girl tactfully retreated, leaving only Lin Feng and Lu Xiaoqing in the hall. Lin Feng cupped his fists and said, "Fairy, you said that you have a treasure and invited me to appraise it together. May I know what it is?" Lu Xiaoqing stood up and came to Lin Feng's side. With an aggrieved expression, she said, "Did you come here just to appraise the treasure?" This servant thought that young master had come to see this servant. Lin Feng naturally did not fall for Lu Xiaoqing's trick. Of course, Lin Feng did not mind putting on a show. Thus, Lin Feng said, "I came here to appraise the treasure and to see Fairy Lu." Hearing Lin Feng's words, Lu Xiaoqing looked at Lin Feng charmingly and said, "You really know how to make me happy." Lin Feng asked, "Can you take out the treasure now?" Lu Xiaoqing could not help but roll her eyes. He thought to himself, "Is this guy a blockhead?" Of course, Lu Xiaoqing did not say this out loud. Lu Xiaoqing continued, "I understand that you want to quickly appraise the treasure. Now, let's do it." After saying that, Lu Xiaoqing fell towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng reacted quickly and supported Lu Xiaoqing, allowing her to sit on the bench, instead of letting Lu Xiaoqing fall into his arms. This action caused Lu Xiaoqing to look at Lin Feng resentfully. Fortunately, there was no one else here. If someone else saw the look in Lu Xiaoqing's eyes, they would definitely be furious. Many people even felt that Lin Feng must have done something to Lu Xiaoqing. That was why Lu Xiaoqing had such a sorrowful expression. Lin Feng said, "I didn't see the treasure that Fairy was talking about. You haven't taken it out yet, have you?" Lu Xiaoqing said coquettishly, "The treasure I'm talking about is me." "What? Is the treasure you're talking about yourself?" Lin Feng was stunned. Then, he was speechless. This woman really made people not know whether to laugh or cry. Pooh. Seeing Lin Feng's depressed expression, Lu Xiaoqing immediately laughed. She said, "I was just teasing you just now." Lu Xiaoqing stood up and said, "The treasure that I'm going to show you is a stone artifact." "Stone artifact?" Lin Feng was surprised and immediately said, "Celestial Maiden, please take out the stone artifact." Lu Xiaoqing nodded and waved her hand. A stone artifact flew out. It was actually a stone cauldron. Lin Feng had seen many stone artifacts, but Lin Feng rarely saw stone cauldrons. In the past, cauldrons were the king of all artifacts. In fact, even now, cauldron-type artifacts had a very high status. For example, some ancient immortal dynasties and ancient divine nations would say, "Cauldron world." One of them was the word cauldron. Cauldrons represented the world. Especially in the era of the ancient divine emperor, cauldrons represented the world's peace. Cauldrons protected the 4 directions. It meant that with cauldrons guarding the 4 directions, there would be no rebellion. From this, one could see the special status of cauldrons in history. The Stone Age was the beginning of the epoch. Therefore, cauldrons had a very high status. Cauldrons in the Stone Age often represented many special meanings. Was Lu Xiaoqing's stone cauldron the same? That was hard to say. He would need to examine it to know. Lu Xiaoqing said, "There are many runes on this stone cauldron. However, these runes are too mysterious. They are extremely ancient runes. I feel that these runes are not simple. You can study it carefully and see if you can find any abnormalities." Hearing this, Lin Feng nodded and came to the side of the stone cauldron. He carefully observed it. It was a green stone cauldron. He did not know what material it was made of, but it was densely covered in runes. Lin Feng recognized many ancient runes, but Lin Feng did not recognize the runes on this stone cauldron. Lin Feng could not help but frown. He transmitted his voice to the Demon Lord and asked, "Demon Lord, look at the runes on this stone cauldron. Do you recognize these runes?" After hearing Lin Feng's transmission, the Demon Lord flew out of the tomb in the Demon Pearl. Through the endless void, he looked at the runes on the stone cauldron. When he saw those runes, the Demon Lord's face revealed a shocked expression. "This is Shinong rune," the Demon Lord said. "Shinong rune? What kind of rune is this?" Lin Feng asked. "A type of rune invented by Shinong," the Demon Lord said. Hearing this, Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. Shinong, one of the three emperors. Back then, Shinong tasted hundreds of herbs and wrote the book, Shinong Records. Only then did the later generations know what the various herbs were used for. As one of the three emperors, Shinong played a huge role in the development of the epoch. Moreover, Shinong was the ancestor of the human race. He was one of the three earliest ancestors of the human race. Shinong had an indelible contribution to the human race. Unfortunately, Shinong had become a sinner in the eyes of many. Shinong's descendants had also become sinners' descendants in the eyes of many. A few years ago, Lin Feng had seen Shinong's eldest daughter, Yaoji. She had been trapped for countless years and was on the verge of death. She hoped that he could go to the Wei River Lake to find Shinong, but the Wei River Lake seemed to be in the celestial realm. He could only wait until he reached the celestial realm to see if Shinong's descendants were still there. Lin Feng did not expect to see a stone cauldron branded with Shinong runes here. Lin Feng asked, "Could this stone cauldron be the legendary Shinong cauldron?" The Shinong cauldron was one of the greatest treasures in the history of the human race. Moreover, it was said that the Shinong cauldron was one of the symbols of the human race for a very long time. It represented the foundation of the human race's orthodoxy. But later, the Shinong cauldron disappeared. Generations after generations of human experts had tried to find the Shinong cauldron, but to no avail. The Shinong cauldron disappeared for countless years. It did not reappear until the end of the epoch. If the stone cauldron in front of him was the Shinong cauldron, then its significance was too extraordinary. It was not something that ordinary top-tier treasures could compare to. Once the Shinong cauldron appeared, it would definitely be able to gather the souls of billions of humans. Chapter 49:10. The Demon Lord said, "Although it has Shinong's runes, it's not the Shinong cauldron. However, this stone cauldron is still very extraordinary. I have a feeling that this stone cauldron is also an ancient cauldron forged by Shinong." After hearing the Demon Lord's words, Lin Feng couldn't help but be surprised. He asked, "Why do you think so?" Everyone's habit of inscribing divine imprints is different. This is just like how everyone's notes are different. Thus, we can tell from the notes whether or not two words were written by the same person. The same is true for divine imprints. We can tell from different runes that they were carved by the same person. I've seen Shinong's runes before. Although many years have passed, I still have a deep impression of them. The characteristics of Shinong's runes are exactly the same as the runes on this stone cauldron. It's said that when Shinong was forging the Shinong cauldron, he was always looking for precious materials. At that time, some of the best materials were excellent for forging magical treasures. Before the Shinong cauldron was forged, Shinong had already forged many stone cauldrons, but those stone cauldrons had some flaws. That's why he couldn't forge a perfect Shinong cauldron. We can call those stone cauldrons second-grade Shinong cauldrons. The Demon Lord said. Lin Feng couldn't help but think. If he could find the real Shinong cauldron, it would be of great importance to him and the human race. Lin Feng had always hoped to become the 10th human emperor at the end of the epoch. He wanted to lead the human cultivators and rise up in revolt. Then, the human race's bloodline would continue. If he could control the Shinong cauldron, it would be of great help to the human race. Seeing Lin Feng standing there without speaking or moving, as if he was in a daze, Lu Shaoqing couldn't help but feel strange. In fact, Lin Feng was communicating with the Demon Lord. Lu Shaoqing asked, "Young master, did you find any clues?" Lin Feng came back to his senses and looked at Lu Shaoqing. He said, "The runes on this cauldron are Shinnong's runes, a type of language created by Shinnong. However, this cauldron isn't made from stone. It was forged by Shinnong in the past. That's why this cauldron doesn't have much offensive power. Its most powerful aspect is that its ability to refine pills. If that's the case, then it's a pity. I'm not someone who likes to refine pills." Lu Shaoqing sighed. Lin Feng said, "Apart from that, this cauldron was left behind by Shinnong, so it's more or less connected to him. Perhaps we can use this cauldron to find Shinnong's burial ground." Lu Shaoqing said, "I'm afraid that's as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, I'm very happy that young master is willing to tell me everything. How about this? Since I have no use for this cauldron, I'll give it to young master." Lin Feng naturally wanted this cauldron. However, he wasn't willing to accept such a valuable gift for no reason. Lin Feng said, "How about this? I'll buy this cauldron for 10 million immortal stones." Lu Shaoqing said unhappily, "This is something that I gave to young master, yet young master insists on buying it. Why is young master so clear with me? If it was something that Shui Yuexin gave to young master, would young master spend money to buy it?" Lin Feng fell silent. If it was something that Shui Yuexin gave to him, Lin Feng naturally wouldn't spend money to buy it. After all, Lin Feng had always had a good impression of Shui Yuexin. However, Lu Shaoqing and Shui Yuexin were different. Let's not talk about whether Lu Shaoqing was a woman of loose morals. Lin Feng didn't like Lu Shaoqing's personality. Lu Shaoqing was very good at scheming. For example, Lin Feng knew that Lu Shaoqing used him as a shield because she needed a shield to reject evil monk Yuanji's invitation. Secondly, she was suspicious of him and wanted to test him. Hence, she used evil monk Yuanji to test him. Lu Shaoqing looked pure and innocent, but she was a scheming person. She was a scheming person. It was difficult for her to treat other people with sincerity. Therefore, Lin Feng wanted to make things clear with Lu Shaoqing. He didn't want to have too much contact with Lu Shaoqing, and he also didn't want to have too much contact with her. Lin Feng said, "Sometimes, it's better to be clear with friends." Lin Feng was telling Lu Shaoqing that they were just friends and nothing else. Lu Shaoqing said, "Everyone thinks that what they hear and see is real. However, many times, what they hear may be fake, and what they see may not be real." Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. He could vaguely guess what Lu Shaoqing was referring to. Perhaps she wanted to tell him something. The rumors about her being indecent were all fake. Lu Shaoqing continued, "The world of cultivators is so cruel. It's extremely difficult to establish a foothold in the world of cultivators. It's the same for male cultivators, let alone for women. For a woman to establish a foothold in a world dominated by male cultivators, the price she has to pay in the end is far from what ordinary people can imagine. Sometimes, I'm very tired and want to find someone to talk to." As Lu Shaoqing said this, she was already secretly crying. Lin Feng knew that what Lu Shaoqing said was actually very reasonable. It was already very difficult for a cultivator to establish a foothold, let alone a female cultivator. Moreover, Lu Shaoqing was a beautiful female cultivator. The sadness behind it was destined to be something that no one else knew about. Seeing Lu Shaoqing crying there, Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. One of the things that Lin Feng didn't want to see the most was a woman crying, especially a woman falling down. It would always easily arouse his sympathy. Who asked Lin Feng to be a man who had tender feelings for the fairer sex? Therefore, when he saw Lu Shaoqing's pitiful appearance, he couldn't bear it. Lin Feng said, "Thank you for your kindness, Fairy. I'll accept this ancient cauldron. In the future, if Fairy has any problems, you can come to me. If I can help Fairy, I will definitely not refuse." Hearing this, Lu Shaoqing's beautiful face revealed a trace of a smile. She looked at Lin Feng and said, "I have a request now." "What request?" Lin Feng asked. Chapter 49:11. After hearing Lu Shaoqing's request, Lin Feng immediately laughed bitterly. Lu Shaoqing was very beautiful. In any ancient city, Lu Shaoqing's appearance could be ranked in the top few, especially since her figure was hot, but her face was very pure. Generally speaking, a woman with a pure face was usually a woman with a thin and petite figure. A woman with a sexy figure often had a charming face. But Lu Shaoqing was not like that. It was precisely because of this extreme contrast in figure and face that appeared on a person's body. That was why it was even more charming. If it were any other man, they would probably be extremely excited after hearing Lu Shaoqing's request. But Lin Feng was not like that. Although Lin Feng liked women, he cared more about feelings. Lin Feng also understood Lu Shaoqing's experience. It was indeed not easy for Lu Shaoqing, but it was a bit difficult for him to hug Lu Shaoqing. At the very least, he would have to wait until Lin Feng had that kind of special feeling for Lu Shaoqing before he would be interested in hugging Lu Shaoqing. At this time, Lu Shaoqing laughed and said, "I was just joking with young master. I am not a casual person." "Fairy, you are so naughty." Lin Feng laughed and said. Lin Feng stayed with Lu Shaoqing for 2 hours. They talked about many things. Lu Shaoqing told him about her life, including her childhood. Lin Feng didn't want to waste time with Lu Shaoqing, but he didn't want to waste time with her. When Lu Shaoqing was in her teens, her family had already been ruined. Later on, she was sold to a brothel for young girls. This kind of place specialized in collecting beautiful girls or young girls and then focused on nurturing them. After they grew up, they would be sold to high officials and nobles. Lu Shaoqing spent her youth in this kind of place, and then she was bought. One could imagine how miserable her fate would be in the future. However, on the night Lu Shaoqing was bought, she took advantage of the lax security to escape. Later on, she was accepted as a disciple by a deacon of the Saint Treasure Tower. Only then did her fate change. Later on, after many years of hard work, step by step, he climbed to his current position. These years, it was indeed not easy, and he had experienced many things. Most of the time, one needed to scheme against others to survive. Lu Shaoqing had never told anyone about her past, but for some reason, Lu Shaoqing felt that Lin Feng was someone worthy of her trust and someone worthy of her confiding in. Lin Feng quietly listened to Lu Shaoqing talk about her past. He couldn't change anything, but at least he could be the most sincere listener. After Lin Feng left Lu Shaoqing's place, Lu Shaoqing sat alone in the living room, holding her cheek in a daze. Lu Shaoqing finally understood why she trusted Lin Feng so much and wanted to have more contact with Lin Feng. The cause was a few days ago. She had witnessed the entire conflict between Lin Feng, Shui Yuexin, Li Xiaolu, and Xikong Ma Bai. Lu Shaoqing was not envious of Lin Feng's extravagant spending for Shui Yuexin. She was envious that Shui Yuexin had someone by her side who was willing to protect her when others humiliated and bullied her. Originally, Lu Shaoqing thought that Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin were lovers, so Lin Feng stood up for Shui Yuexin. However, Lu Shaoqing asked someone to investigate the relationship between Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin. After the results of the investigation, Lu Shaoqing found out that Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin were not lovers at all. Lin Feng was just a passing traveler in the little western paradise city. He knew Shui Yuexin because Lin Feng went to the Bai Shouth Pavilion to inquire about information. Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin had only met a few times. Wasn't it nonsense to say that they were lovers? Perhaps they were just ordinary friends. As for Lin Feng, in order to protect an ordinary friend, he did not hesitate to offend a powerful force like the Xikong family. After knowing this, Lu Shaoqing had a new understanding of Lin Feng. She had never seen someone like Lin Feng. To be able to become Lin Feng's friend, perhaps it was an extremely lucky thing. If she became Lin Feng's lover, how would Lin Feng protect her? Just thinking about it made her feel extremely excited. Actually, Lu Shaoqing was extremely insecure. Therefore, she saw a sense of security in Lin Feng that women could rely on. This was the main reason why Lu Shaoqing wanted to stay by Lin Feng's side. When Lin Feng returned to his residence, he saw a woman standing outside the courtyard. It was none other than Shui Yuexin. Under the moonlight, Shui Yuexin was extremely beautiful. She was an extremely beautiful woman. Now, under the moonlight, it added a special charm to her. Seeing that Lin Feng had returned, Shui Yuexin was extremely happy. Lin Feng invited Shui Yuexin to come with him. "It's already so late. Is there something you need from me?" Lin Feng looked at Shui Yuexin and asked. "There is indeed something. I have something that I would like to ask for your help with." Shui Yuexin said. "Tell me about it," Lin Feng said with a smile. Shui Yueshin said, "It's a letter from my family. I'm a member of the White Fox clan. A few years ago, my father was severely injured because of an operation by the clan. His meridians were damaged, and he became a cripple. Ever since he became a cripple, my clan status has been declining rapidly. However, the relationship between these big clans is not something that can be completely separated. Especially when it comes to marriage, it's not something that can be decided by the younger generation. My father sent a letter saying that the clan wants to have a marriage alliance with a big immortal sect. The higher-ups of the clan thought of me and wanted me to marry them. All these years, no one cared about the life and death of my clan. Back then, my brother was bullied in the sect. He fought back and injured someone. The other party wanted us to pay a huge sum of immortal stones. We wanted to seek justice from the clan, but they didn't care about our life and death. Now that the clan wants to have a marriage alliance, these people thought of our clan, but I'm too weak to resist. So, I hope that you can accompany me back and pretend to be my lover. That way, they won't be able to force me to marry them again." After Shui Yueshin said that, she looked at Lin Feng with a pitiful look. As the saying went, every clan had its own difficulties. Shui Yueshin's life was indeed very difficult. Lin Feng said, "All right, I'll accompany you when the time comes. When are we leaving?" Hearing that Lin Feng had agreed to accompany her, Shui Yueshin became very happy. She said, "How about we leave tomorrow?" Lin Feng nodded. "No problem." Shui Yueshin stayed with Lin Feng for a while before leaving. She was full of smiles when she left. It was so good to have Lin Feng by her side. It was a pity. Chapter 49:12. The next day, Shui Yuexian had come to see him, so Lin Feng and Shui Yuexian left. The man was handsome and dashing. The woman was enchanting. They naturally attracted a lot of attention along the way. However, not long after he left his residence, evil energy rolled in the distance. A large amount of evil energy surged in the void. Within the evil energy, there were a few cultivators floating in the air. Not long after, those cultivators quickly flew over. Lin Feng slightly raised his brows after seeing the cultivators inside. The cultivators within the evil chi were all monks. Lin Feng recognized one of them, evil monk Yuanji. Lin Feng didn't know the other monks. Evil monk Yuanji and the others had extraordinary cultivation bases, so they could do whatever they wanted outside. No one dared to offend them. Since evil monk Yuanji and the others were recklessly releasing their auras, they naturally attracted the attention of many cultivators. Due to that, many cultivators followed evil monk Yuanji's group, wanting to see what these monks were up to. It didn't take long before they saw Yuanji's group stop. Evil monk Yuanji and the others quickly surrounded the two cultivators. To everyone's surprise, the two cultivators surrounded by evil monk Yuanji and the others were very young. Did these two offend evil monk Yuanji? Offending evil monk Yuanji's group wouldn't end well. Isn't that woman Shui Yueshin from the all-knowing pavilion? Suddenly, a cultivator recognized Shui Yueshin's identity and spoke out. "That's right, it's Shui Yueshin." Someone else said. The other party also recognized Shui Yueshin. Shui Yueshin had some reputation in the little western paradise city. After all, Shui Yueshin was so beautiful. The cultivators of the little western paradise city had also set up a beauty ranking for the many female cultivators in the city. Shui Yueshin was in the top 3. Thus, everyone was amazed after hearing that the woman was Shui Yueshin. She was indeed beautiful. Especially Shui Yueshin's seductive charm. It was not a temperament that an ordinary woman could possess. Perhaps it had a lot to do with the fact that she was a vixen. Who's that young cultivator with Shui Yueshin? He looks like a young human cultivator, but he doesn't look familiar. He doesn't look like a cultivator from minor western paradise. Another cultivator talked about Lin Feng. Indeed, he doesn't look like a cultivator from minor western paradise. Maybe he's a young noble from a certain power? There aren't that many top powers in the human race, but there are still a few. Evil monk Yuanji's group is here for him, right? Did he offend evil monk Yuanji? I'm afraid he won't be able to leave this time. Evil monk Yuanji's group has always been lawless and murderous. Many cultivators in the surroundings were discussing, in their opinion, Lin Feng's fate of death after offending evil monk Yuanji. More importantly, evil monk Yuanji's group wasn't just strong, but also had the advantage in numbers. Lin Feng was only a young cultivator. How could he fight against evil monk Yuanji? There were a few cultivators in the crowd who had participated in the trade fair. When they saw evil monk Yuanji's group surrounding Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin, they couldn't help but raise their eyebrows. They had witnessed everything and knew that Lin Feng wasn't as simple as he looked. Lin Feng was definitely a powerful figure. Anyone who dared to underestimate Lin Feng would suffer a great loss. However, they weren't sure if Lin Feng would be able to gain an advantage in the upcoming conflict. After all, evil monk Yuanji didn't come alone this time. A few of his fellow disciples were with him. They had heard of these people and knew that they were very strong. The leader was called Evil Monk Yuanfa, a true immortal expert. He was Evil Monk Yuanji's eldest senior brother. Kid, have you thought about how you're going to die? Evil Monk Yuanji looked at Lin Feng with a cold smile. Before seeing Lin Feng, Evil Monk Yuanji had already thought of many ways to torture Lin Feng. If he let Lin Feng die a quick death, it would be too easy for Lin Feng. Evil Monk Yuanji wanted Lin Feng to experience all kinds of pain before he died. That was the only way. Only then would he be able to vent his hatred. Lin Feng glanced at the original machine god indifferently. I was wondering who it was. So it's you, a piece of trash. Why did you come here and block my way? What do you want? Are you trying to send your little grandpa out of the city on your knees? Lin Feng's words silenced the crowd. Lin Feng's words were too arrogant. No one had expected Lin Feng to say something like that. He was extremely daring. That wasn't enough to describe Lin Feng, was it? Many people thought Lin Feng was crazy. Otherwise, how could he say something like that? How could he act so recklessly? That kid is dead for sure. Evil Monk Yuanji and the others. They won't let him go, a cultivator said. Many people nodded in agreement. You're courting death. You're courting death. You're courting death. Evil Monk Yuanji flew into a rage after being humiliated by Lin Feng. However, he knew that Lin Feng wasn't easy to deal with, so he didn't make a move immediately. How interesting. You even dare to offend someone from the Western Horizon region. I'm curious, who gave you such courage? Evil Monk Yuanfa, the leader of the group, said. Lin Feng said calmly, of course, it's my own confidence. When a person is strong enough, they will be able to deal with anything calmly, just like me. Stop bragging, kid. You think you're invincible just because you're a little strong? What a joke. Yuanji, Yuan Kong, Yuan Hai, the three of you attack together. Don't kill him. Capture him alive. Evil Monk Yuanfa said coldly. Yes, eldest senior brother. The three evil monks stepped forward after hearing Evil Monk Yuanfa's order. The three of them, Evil Monk Yuanji was the weakest among them. However, he was also a heavenly immortal. Evil Monk Yuan Kong and Yuan Hai were both quasi-true immortals. The three of them had been together for many years, so they had great teamwork. The three of them each took out a treasure. Evil Monk Yuan Kong took out a demon-subduing ruler. The demon-subduing ruler quickly enlarged and released terrifying energies which moved towards Lin Feng. Evil Monk Yuan Hai took out a seal of mountains and seas. The seal of mountains and seas rapidly enlarged and pressed down on Lin Feng. Evil Monk Yuanji took out a gilt sword. The gilt sword was branded with mysterious runes. When it was activated, it shone with dazzling golden light. The three evil monks attacked at the same time. Chapter 49:13. The three evil monks have joined the fray. That kid is dead for sure. Exclamations were heard all of a sudden. In many people's eyes, the three evil monks had joined the fray. It was almost impossible for Lin Feng to resist. Moreover, the three evil monks had taken out their magic treasures to deal with Lin Feng. It could be seen how cautious the three of them were. This made everyone very confused. Against a young cultivator like Lin Feng, why be so cautious? No matter what, Lin Feng was dead for sure. Even the cultivators who had seen Lin Feng fight before could not help but frown at this moment. They were not optimistic about Lin Feng's chances. After all, two of the three evil monks were quasi-true immortals. With their powerful cultivation and the assistance of their magic treasures, the combat power they could display was unimaginable. Seeing that the magic treasures of the three evil monks were about to hit Lin Feng stretched out his right hand. Then, he gently pointed at the magic treasures of the three evil monks. Suddenly, something terrible happened. Everyone saw that the magic treasures of the three evil monks had changed directions. The three magic treasures rushed toward the three evil monks. After seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They did not know what had happened. The scene in front of them was really too strange. Why were the three magic treasures attacking the three evil monks? Those were the three evil monks' most precious treasures. Just a moment ago, they were attacking Lin Feng. The three evil monks' faces changed drastically. They wanted to dodge, but it was too late. The main reason was that the three magic treasures had caught them off guard. Puff, puff, puff. Along with the sound of tearing, the three evil monks' bodies were directly torn apart by their magic treasures. They flew backward and fell to the ground, dead. It's him. It's that young master. He just pointed in the direction of the three magic treasures, and the three magic treasures immediately changed directions and attacked the three evil monks, forcibly depriving others of the right to use their magic treasures. What kind of means did he use just now? Does he know any demonic arts? Many cultivators exclaimed. The three evil monks' deaths were too humiliating. They were caught off guard by their own magic treasures and died in the end. Everyone looked at Lin Feng with deep respect. Lin Feng's means were too shocking and terrifying. Although they did not know what kind of means Lin Feng had just used, it was indeed terrifying. If they were to fight against Lin Feng, wouldn't they be unable to use their magic treasures? Because if they used their treasures, Lin Feng would be able to control their treasures. Everybody knew what would happen then. What happened to the three evil monks was a lesson to be learned from. It's the weapon mantra of the 9 mysteries. At that moment, a white-haired old man's voice. What? The 9 mysteries have been lost? Oh my God, the legend of the 9 esotericas is true? I thought it was just a legend. Who is this brat? He actually cultivated the 9 mysteries of Taoism? When the old man said that Lin Feng's technique was the weapon mantra of the 9 mysteries, the crowd went into an uproar. Many cultivators had heard of the 9 mysteries, but no one had actually cultivated it. Thus, they thought that it was only a legend and that there was no real legacy in this world. But now, they finally found out that the 9 mysteries really existed. The 9 mysteries, the supreme legacy of Taoism. Rumor has it that even the Tao Gate no longer had the cultivation method of the 9 mysteries. Brat, you deserve to die 1,000 times over. Evil monk Yuan Fa was furious after seeing Lin Feng kill his 3 junior brothers. His gaze towards Lin Feng was filled with murderous intent. Lin Feng sneered. You're the one who deserves to die. Kill yourself, and you won't have to suffer a painful death. If I were to take action, you'd die a horrible death. The spectators smiled wryly after hearing Lin Feng. Lin Feng was as arrogant as ever, but they didn't think highly of Lin Feng anymore. Many people thought that since Lin Feng was so arrogant, he had the right to be arrogant. However, some felt that Lin Feng was being too arrogant because evil monk Yuan Fa was different from the 3 dead monks. Evil monk Yuan Fa was a true immortal. Yuanji's group couldn't compare to him at all. Although Lin Feng killed the 3 evil monks by manipulating their magic treasures with the Bing mantra recorded in the 9 mysteries, Lin Feng might not be a match for them in a head-on clash. Many people thought so. They felt that Lin Feng was lucky to have killed the 3 evil monks. After all, a divine power like the Bing mantra probably wouldn't work every time. When Lin Feng activated the Bing mantra, it happened to work. What else could it be but luck? However, when facing a terrifying existence like evil monk Yuan Fa, his luck was about to run out. Brat, what kind of genius haven't I seen over the years? However, this is the first time I've seen someone as arrogant as you. Today, I'll let you have a taste of my divine power. Evil monk Yuan Fa shouted coldly. Then, a demonic light surged in his body. A large amount of demonic light surged. After the demonic light surged out, a large amount of Buddhist light surged out. The demonic light and the Buddhist light intertwined. He turned into a terrifying half-Buddhist, half-demon creature. This, a dual Buddhist and demonic cultivator shall be slain by all living beings. The half-Buddhist, half-demon cultivator spoke. His voice was like the sound of death drifting out from hell. The half-Buddhist, half-demon cultivator walked toward Lin Feng, wanting to kill Lin Feng. When the surrounding cultivators sensed the aura emitted from the half-Buddhist, they couldn't help but tremble violently. Everyone's face couldn't help but reveal a terrified expression. The half-Buddhist, half-demon existence was too terrifying. Anyone who sensed the aura of this terrifying existence would feel their soul trembling. The cultivators who originally thought that Lin Feng could defeat evil monk Yuan Fa changed their minds after seeing the half-Buddhist, half-demon existence. They were extremely pessimistic about Lin Feng, thinking that Lin Feng would definitely die. At this moment, Lin Feng made his move. Everyone saw it. Lin Feng jumped up and turned into a dazzling sword light in midair. The sword light streaked across the sky. The half-Buddhist, half-demon creature was instantly split in half. Chapter 49:14. Evil monk Yuan Fa didn't even know how he died. His body fell to the ground, and blood flowed all over the ground. He was a perfected immortal, and he cultivated both Buddhism and devil. He was much stronger than perfected immortals of the same level. However, in the face of Lin Feng's attack, he couldn't even withstand a single blow. Anyone who saw this scene would feel incredulous, right? It was indeed too inconceivable and too shocking. So much so that the surroundings became silent. At this moment, the dazzling sword chi once again transformed into Lin Feng's original body. Everyone looked at Lin Feng. Everyone's hearts seemed to have been set off by monstrous waves, including Shui Yuexin. She originally thought that she already knew Lin Feng quite well, but only now did she realize that her understanding of Lin Feng was only the tip of the iceberg. Perfected immortals couldn't even withstand a single blow from Lin Feng. The key was that Lin Feng was too young. He was like a character that only appeared in fairy tales. Fellow Taoist, you're really amazing. I'm impressed. I'm Zhang Wentian, the Supreme Elder of the Western Heaven Immortal Sect from the small Western Heavenly region. I wonder if I can be friends with you? At this moment, an old man stepped forward, cupped his fists, and looked at Lin Feng politely. After hearing the identity of this old man, everyone was shocked. There were many forces in the small Western Heavenly region, including many Buddhist forces. However, if one were to ask which force was the most powerful in the small Western Heavenly region, it must be the Western Heaven Immortal Sect. The Western Heaven Immortal Sect was very distant from the Buddhist sects of the Western Heavenly region. This sect had been rooted in the small Western Heavenly region for hundreds of millions of years. It was a force that had been passed down since the ancient times. Its foundation was incomparably powerful, and it belonged to the feudal lords of the region. There weren't many supreme elders of the Western Heaven Immortal Sect. However, although there were few of them, their cultivation bases were top-notch. Those supreme elders were all experts of the Western Heaven Immortal Sect. Some of them were even experts who came out of the divine stones. Therefore, the supreme elders of the Western Heaven Immortal Sect should be experts of the perfected immortal realm. In addition, there was the Western Heaven Immortal Sect behind them. The supreme elders of the Western Heaven Immortal Sect were much more noble than ordinary perfected immortal experts. However, even though he had such a high social status, he was still talking to Lin Feng in a polite and respectful way. However, no one felt that there was anything wrong with Zhang Wentian doing this. For a young expert like Lin Feng, it was hard to imagine just how terrifying he would become in the future. Therefore, if they could make friends with Lin Feng at this time, it might be of great help to them and the forces behind them in the future. Many cultivators wanted to make friends with Lin Feng, but they were not qualified at all. The people who could go up and make friends with Lin Feng were at least at the level of Zhang Wentian. So it's fellow Taoist Zhang. Nice to meet you. I've always liked to make friends. If it were any other time, I would definitely have a few drinks with fellow Taoist Zhang. But now, I have something urgent to deal with my friends, so I can only wait until the next time I meet fellow Taoist Zhang and have a few drinks with you. Lin Feng cupped his fists and said. Lin Feng didn't need to say what his name was. He believed that Zhang Wentian could find out. Well, the next time we meet, we must not go back until we're drunk, Zhang Wentian said with a smile. Some elders, Great elders and disciples of the Western Heaven Immortal sect couldn't help muttering. The old ancestor of their sect was usually an extremely serious person. When had they ever seen him so happy? Obviously, the old ancestor, who was usually extremely serious and even reserved, was now all smiles because of the excessively young and powerful cultivator. Okay, next time I will definitely get drunk. Lin Feng cupped his fists. Before leaving, he put away the storage rings of evil monk Yuan Fa and others. There were at least 1 billion immortal stones in the storage rings of these 4 people. Although Lin Feng was not short of immortal stones, but he didn't mind having more immortal stones. After putting away those storage rings, Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin left together. After leaving the little western paradise city, Lin Feng summoned the 3-headed viper. Now that the 3-headed viper had broken through to the celestial immortal realm, the speed of its breakthrough was extremely fast. Lin Feng was also quite satisfied with the 3-headed viper's cultivation speed. Of course, the 3-headed viper's cultivation speed was so fast. Firstly, it was cultivating in time and space. Secondly, it had obtained a large amount of cultivation resources. No matter what cultivation resources it needed to improve its cultivation, Lin Feng could provide it. "This is my mount. Let's ride it to your clan," Lin Feng said. "Ah, this is your mount? A celestial immortal realm mount?" Shui Yuexin was full of shock. But thinking of how powerful Lin Feng was, having a celestial immortal realm mount didn't seem to be a big deal. Lin Feng just smiled at Shui Yuexin's shock. The two of them flew onto the 3-headed viper's huge head. The 3-headed viper flapped its wings, and its huge body soared into the sky. Around them was the sound of the wind, and below them was an endless mountain forest. Shui Yuexin's body silently leaned on Lin Feng. She noticed that Lin Feng didn't reject her, and she couldn't help but feel happy. Soaring above the 9 heavens, this feeling was simply too comfortable. All the pressure seemed to have been swept away. Shui Yuexin couldn't even remember the last time she felt so relaxed. Lin Feng turned to look at Shui Yuexin. He could even see that snowy white skin of hers. "What an enchanting woman." Lin Feng asked, "Who else is in your clan?" "Father, mother, younger brother, 2 uncles, 1 uncle, and their families. There are also some cousins," Shui Yuexin said. Lin Feng said, "Then you have quite a number of people in your clan. Are there any other experts?" Chapter 49:15. Lin Feng's ancestor, Lin Qi, had been through a lot. Lin Feng's ancestor, Lin Qi, had been through a lot. Lin Feng sighed. His ancestor Lin Qi's father fought a bloody battle for the clan, but unfortunately fell in the end. Logically speaking, the Undying clan should treat the descendants of those who died for the clan well. However, that wasn't the case. After his ancestor Lin Qi's father died, Lin Qi's talent was ordinary. Thus, Lin Qi had a hard time when he was young, experiencing the fickleness of human nature. When Lin Qi's mother died, she didn't even have the qualifications to be buried with Lin Qi's father due to her humble background. Lin Qi's heart was completely broken, which was why he left the Undying clan. Later on, Lin Qi's experience fully proved how reasonable this statement was. One would rather bully an old man than a poor young man. Lin Feng said, "I heard you say that your younger brother is also cultivating in a sect?" "That's right," Shui Yuexin said. "My younger brother and a few other cousins are all cultivating in the dragon-subduing sect. Although the dragon-subduing sect isn't a particularly big sect, it's still quite famous in the lesser Western Horizon region. Moreover, it's hard to enter a sect that's too powerful without connections." "How's their cultivation in the sect?" Lin Feng asked. Shui Yuexin smiled bitterly. "It's all right. However, it's not particularly outstanding. After all, just relying on the cultivation resources in the sect isn't enough. Also, it's hard for my family to provide them with too many resources. Every month, I'll send them a portion of cultivation resources. But even so, it's still a far cry from those disciples who have family backing them up. However, at least they have a place of protection within the dragon-subduing sect. If the legendary Doomsday battle really happens in the future, the dragon-subduing sect will be able to protect them. Along the way, Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin chatted about many things. Sometimes, Shui Yuexin would muster up the courage to ask Lin Feng some things. Lin Feng would also try his best to answer her questions. Although Shui Yuexin looked charming, she was actually a very pure person. Because of that, Lin Feng felt more comfortable when he was with Shui Yuexin. He didn't like those scheming women. That would be more tiring. Life should be as comfortable as possible. Half a month later, Lin Feng saw Dragon Qi rising tens of li away. Within the Dragon Qi, there seemed to be a huge dragon floating. That's the dragon subduing sect. The dragon subduing sect. Shui Yuexin. Lin Feng said, Lin Feng, since we're passing by the dragon subduing sect, let's go visit them. Hearing Lin Feng say that, Shui Yuexin's. Lin Feng took the initiative to ask to visit her brother and the others. Clearly, Lin Feng didn't mind interacting with them. Didn't this mean that she already had a trace of herself in Lin Feng's heart? Shui Yuexin didn't dare to ask for too much. She was already satisfied to have a little bit of status in Lin Feng's heart. If Little Hao and the others know that young master is going to visit them, they will definitely be very happy. Shui Yuexin said. Lin Feng smiled. The three-headed viper's speed was extremely fast. It didn't take long for them to arrive outside the dragon-subduing sect. After arriving, Lin Feng sent the three-headed viper into the space of time. For the final distance, Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin could fly over together. Lin Feng was a person who kept a low profile. Therefore, if they flew over together, they wouldn't attract too much attention. A power like the dragon-subduing sect recruited all kinds of disciples. Therefore, there would be people coming to visit their clan's disciples every day. However, if they wanted to enter the dragon-subduing sect to visit their family members, they would have to pay 10 immortal stones. This was the rule. After Lin Feng paid 20 immortal stones, he informed the other party that he was going to visit someone. The dragon-subduing sect's disciples would then enter to inform the other disciples. As for Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin, they waited in a cultivator's hall in the dragon-subduing sect. Someone brought Lin Feng and the others to the resting hall. Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin waited for a short while before 7 to 8 young people arrived. Sister? The handsome young man in the lead quickly ran over when he saw Shui Yuexin. He must be Shui Yuexin's younger brother, Shui Zaheo. They are here, Shui Yuexin said and stood up. A group of people ran over. The few young men behind Shui Zaheo also greeted Shui Yuexin when they saw her. Those people should be Shui Yuexin's cousins. Among them, 2 beautiful young girls hugged Shui Yuexin's arms, one on the left and one on the right. Their eyes would occasionally look at Lin Feng. One of the young ladies said, Sister, who was that big brother that came with you? Could he be our brother-in-law? This young girl did not deliberately lower her voice, so her words were naturally heard by everyone. Hearing that, Shui Yuexin blushed slightly. The others also looked at Lin Feng. Seeing how handsome Lin Feng was and how Shui Yuexin blushed, they were even more certain that Lin Feng was Shui Yuexin's lover. Shui Yuexin originally wanted to explain, but when she saw that Lin Feng did not explain, she did not say anything. Her heart was filled with sweetness and joy. Hee, so it really is brother-in-law. Another young lady shouted excitedly. She looked at Lin Feng curiously and said, I am Shui Yuexin. What is your name, brother-in-law? I am Ji. Lin Feng said, Brother-in-law, how did you manage to catch up with our sister? I know that our sister has countless suitors, but she has never accepted any of them. Shui Yuexin giggled and asked. Cough, cough. Lin Feng coughed dryly. Lin Feng didn't know what to say because Shui Yuexin and he didn't have that kind of relationship. Even though he had a good impression of Shui Yuexin, they were still friends. Lin Feng didn't explain because he thought that if he explained, Shui Yuexin would lose face. It would be better if Shui Yuexin explained, but Shui Yuexin didn't explain, which surprised Lin Feng. But since Shui Yuexin didn't explain, Lin Feng didn't need to. Little girl, don't ask about things you shouldn't ask. Chapter 49:16. Shui Zaheo said, Let's not stay here any longer. Why don't we go get something to eat? I believe that brother-in-law and sister haven't had a good meal on the way here. The food in the dragon-subduing sect's immortal food hall is not bad, but I don't know if it will suit brother-in-law's appetite. Lin Feng said, I can eat anything. I'm not a picky eater. Everyone immediately laughed because they felt that their brother-in-law was a very approachable person. The group of people headed outside. On the way out, Shui Yuan asked softly, Sister, have you consummated your marriage with brother-in-law? Shui Yuexin also asked curiously, That's right, sister. Have you consummated your marriage or not? The two girls were more curious about this matter. Shui Yuexin's face turned slightly red. She lowered her voice and said, You two little girls, what nonsense are you talking about? Shui Yuan said, From the looks of it, you haven't consummated your marriage yet. I think brother-in-law is a good person. Sister, you must hold on to him tightly. When a man and woman are together, it's like dry wood meeting fire. You stinking brat, where did you learn all this nonsense from? Shui Yuexin said angrily. Shui Yuan said, Sister, don't be angry. I learned all this from romance novels. I feel that some of the words in those novels are very reasonable. After hearing Shui Yuan's words, Shui Yuexin felt a little helpless. However, an idea soon appeared in her mind. Could she try the method Shui Yuan mentioned? Perhaps she could confirm her relationship with Lin Feng this way? Aya, what am I thinking about? Shui Yuexin's face turned red. She sneaked a glance at Lin Feng and saw that Lin Feng's expression was normal. Only then did she let out a sigh of relief. Lin Feng should not have heard the conversation between the three of them. The dragon-subduing sect's immortal food hall was bustling with people. Other than the disciples and elders of the dragon-subduing sect, there were also many cultivators who came to visit their clan members. They would often come here to have a big meal and try out the food of the immortal food hall. This would give them something to brag about in the future. The surface area of the dragon-subduing sect's immortal food hall was extremely huge. There was a total of 10 levels, and it could accommodate several 100,000 people eating together. Brother-in-law, sister, please wait for a while. I'll go and book a private room. Shui Zaheo said. Lin Feng knew that eating in this kind of place was not cheap. If he booked a private room, it would be even more expensive. As for the Shui clan's family background, Lin Feng wasn't willing to let them spend so much money. If they had those immortal stones, they might as well use them for cultivation. Therefore, he said, I think there's still room in the hall. We don't need to book a private room. It's the same if we find a table outside. Shui Zaheo looked at his sister Shui Yuexin awkwardly. Shui Yuexin said, Then let's find a place outside. Therefore, the group of people found a place to sit down. Not long after, a paper crane flew over. The paper crane was holding a jade tube in its claws. The paper crane flew to the table where Lin Feng and the others were sitting, and then put down the jade tube. Brother-in-law, use your divine sense to sense it. There are all kinds of delicacies inside. If you fancy a delicacy, use your divine sense to enter it into the jade tube. Then, your order will be successful. Shui Zaheo said. Lin Feng clicked his tongue in wonder. The methods of these immortal sects were always somewhat novel. He didn't stand on ceremony. He used his divine sense to enter the jade tube and saw all kinds of dishes. There were probably tens of thousands of dishes. Lin Feng didn't order anything too expensive. He ordered 4 ordinary dishes and then passed the jade tube to Shui Yuexin. Shui Yuexin didn't order anything. She passed the jade tube to Shui Zaheo and said, Take a look and see if there's anything you want to eat. Just order. I'll pay the bill later. Shui Zaheo said seriously, Sister, this meal is on me. This is the first time we meet brother-in-law. Later, we still have to toast brother-in-law. Shui Yuexin blushed and nodded. Lin Feng said, We don't have to order too much. It's fine as long as there's enough to eat. Otherwise, it'll be a waste. Shui Zihao and the others thought that Lin Feng was very considerate. Besides, he was also very frugal. However, including Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin, there were 10 of them. If they ordered too little, it wouldn't be enough. Hence, Shui Zaheo and the rest ordered 10 more dishes and a few jars of wine. The wine was also spiritual wine. Although it couldn't be compared to the wine at Lin Feng's place, it had a different flavor to it. Not long later, the wine and dishes were all served. After Shui Zaheo and the rest filled their cups with wine, they stood up and toasted Lin Feng. Brother-in-law, as your brothers and sisters, we would like to toast you. We wish brother-in-law and sister a happy and loving relationship, Shui Zaheo said. Lin Feng raised his cup and drank it in one gulp. Shui Zaheo and the rest also drank the wine in their cups in one gulp. Everyone, quickly sit down and eat, Shui Yuexin said. After everyone sat down, they chatted and laughed. However, halfway through the meal, something unpleasant happened. A group of more than 10 dragon-subduing sect disciples walked over. The disciple in the lead was hugging a female disciple. The female disciple was tall and pretty. When the group of people walked past Lin Feng's table, they sneered. The leading disciple curled his lips and said, "A bunch of paupers. Are they even qualified to eat in the immortal food hall?" Zhang Long, don't go too far. Shui Ziyu stood up and said coldly. Shui Ziyu was Shui Yuexin's younger brother. Shui Ziyu, who do you think you are? Are you qualified to talk to me? I'm talking to Shui Zaheo. The disciple called Zhang Long sneered. Yiru, Shui Yuexin said. She looked at Su Yiru, who was in Zhang Long's embrace. She knew Su Yiru. She grew up with her younger brother Shui Zaheo. The two of them could be considered childhood sweethearts and had joined the dragon-subduing sect together. Shui Yuexin also knew that her younger brother Shui Zaheo and Su Yiru were lovers. But now, Su Yiru was in the embrace of another man. Brother Long, let's go. Aren't we going to meet a big shot? Let's not waste time. Su Yiru ignored Shui Yuexin and looked at Zhang Long. Zhang Long nodded and looked at the group of people. This young master can't be bothered to talk to a bunch of lowly people like you. Then, he hugged Su Yiru and walked in. Zaheo, what's going on? Shui Yuexin asked. The other members of the Shui clan didn't look too good. Clearly, many things must have happened in between. Shui Zaheo sighed and said, Sister, it's nothing. If couples aren't suitable for each other, they will break up. This kind of thing is very common. Chapter 49:17. Actually, Lin Feng had already guessed the whole story. Su Yiru and Shui Zaheo were childhood sweethearts, and they were even lovers. However, after joining the dragon-subduing sect, Su Yiru realized that the world she knew was very different from the outside world. There were all kinds of people in the dragon-subduing sect. In such a sect, only those with money and power could stand above the rest. Those without money and power were destined to be bullied and humiliated. Before joining the dragon-subduing sect, Su Yiru didn't experience such things. Hence, her relationship with Shui Zaheo was very pure. However, after joining the dragon-subduing sect, all kinds of things and comparisons started to corrode Su Yiru's heart. Shui Zaheo, who came from an ordinary family, couldn't give her the kind of life she wanted. Hence, Su Yiru abandoned Shui Zaheo and went into the arms of another man. Zhang Long probably knew that Su Yiru was with Shui Zaheo in the past, so he naturally didn't treat Shui Zaheo well. If he could find a chance to humiliate Shui Zaheo, he wouldn't mind doing such a thing. What Lin Feng could guess, Shui Yuexin could too. She felt that it was unfair for her brother, and her heart ached for him. She wanted to say something, but was stopped by Lin Feng. Lin Feng knew what Shui Yuexin wanted to say, but those words shouldn't be said. Lin Feng called, Zaheo? Hearing Lin Feng calling him, Shui Zaheo hurriedly looked at Lin Feng. Said Lin Feng smiling, Life is very long. We will experience countless things and meet countless people. We just need to cherish those who cherish us, not those who have abandoned us. Let's not grieve for those who have given up on us. In the future, when you look back on your youth, you will realize that the sadness at that time will make you laugh. Brother-in-law, Shui Zaheo wanted to say something, but Lin Feng interrupted him. Lin Feng then pointed at a few female disciples eating at a table not far away and said, Look at that female disciple wearing a white dress. Isn't she beautiful? Does she have a good figure? Shui Zaheo didn't know what Lin Feng wanted to do, but he still nodded. Go over and ask her what her name is. Then tell her that I want to hit on you. Lin Feng said. Pooh! Shui Yuexin, who had just drunk a mouthful of water, suddenly spat it out. This was his brother-in-law. How could he be so valiant? I don't dare. Shui Zaheo said awkwardly. You're a man. How dare you say you don't dare? If you were my younger brother, I would have beaten you until half your body was paralyzed after hearing what you said, Lin Feng said. Shui Zaheo gritted his teeth, stood up, and walked towards the female disciple. Very quickly, Lin Feng and the rest saw the female disciple splashing the water on Shui Zaheo's face. Shui Zaheo was like a defeated rooster as he came back with his head drooping. Brother-in-law, I failed, Shui Zaheo said with a sullen face. Lin Feng said, it's normal for you to fail. That girl is as cold as ice. One look, and you can tell that she's not easy to get along with. She's so beautiful, so she must have a lot of suitors. Therefore, when facing those suitors who tried to hit on her, she wouldn't give them a good look. So, it's normal for you to lose out. If you didn't lose out, that would be abnormal. Shui Zaheo said with a bitter smile. Then why did you ask me to go over when you knew that I would end up like this? It's because you want to train your courage. When you meet someone who can't get over it, your courage will be smaller. To put it bluntly, you'll feel inferior. Zaheo, you need to rely on yourself for this kind of thing. So, when you're free, you can try to hit on the beautiful female disciples. The more you get rejected, the more courageous you'll become, and the more confident you'll be. Lin Feng said. Shui Yuan said, brother-in-law, after being rejected so many times, won't you lose your confidence? Lin Feng said, of course not. After being rejected so many times, your skin will become thicker. Those thick-skinned people have a mysterious self-confidence. Have you ever seen such a person? Shui Yuan's eyes lit up. That's true. Those thick-skinned people have a mysterious self-confidence. I don't even know where their self-confidence comes from. Now that brother-in-law has said it, I finally understand. Shui Yuan then looked at Shui Zaheo and said, fourth brother, you can do as brother-in-law says. When your skin becomes thicker, you won't care about the past anymore. All right, I'll work hard. Shui Zaheo clenched his fists and said. At this moment, a voice came from behind. Is that young Master Ji? Everyone turned around and saw a dozen cultivators. The one who spoke was a middle-aged cultivator. Shui Zaheo and the others thought that these people were here to visit their disciples, so they didn't pay much attention to them. Lin Feng frowned slightly and asked, who are you? Young Master Ji, my master is the one you met a few days ago. The middle-aged man said carefully. As a disciple, he naturally didn't dare to call his master by his name. Lin Feng also knew who this person's master was. It should be the #1 power in the minor Western Horizon region, the Western Heaven Immortal Sect's Grand Elder Zhang Wentian. Lin Feng had some impression of this person. Although he couldn't be considered particularly strong, he was still a true immortal. Lin Feng said, so it's fellow Taoist Zhang's disciple. What are you doing here? Could it be that you have disciples cultivating in the dragon-subduing sect? Lin Feng immediately felt that this shouldn't be the case. The dragon-subduing sect was worlds apart from the Western Heaven Immortal Sect. Since this person was Zhang Wentian's disciple, he should be someone with a high position in the Western Heaven Immortal Sect. The descendants of his family could naturally cultivate in the Western Heaven Immortal Sect. There was no need for them to cultivate in a second-rate power like the dragon-subduing sect. Wouldn't that be a waste of time? The middle-aged man said, it's a friend of mine. It's going to be his birthday soon, and I just happened to pass by here, so I came to visit him. So that's the case. Then you can go back to your work. Lin Feng waved his hand. No rush, no rush. I'll stay here and chat with young master for a while. The middle-aged man said with a smile. Shui Yuexin could roughly guess the middle-aged man's identity, but she didn't say anything. Shui Zaheo and the others felt strange. Why was this middle-aged man so careful in front of their brother-in-law? Even if their brother-in-law had a good background, this middle-aged man didn't need to be so reserved, right? However, Shui Zaheo and the others were still young, so they didn't think too much about it. Chapter 49:18. Shui Zaheo brought over a stool for the middle-aged cultivator and said, Uncle, please have a seat. The middle-aged cultivator looked at Lin Feng. If Lin Feng didn't say anything, how would he dare to sit down? After seeing this scene, the Shui clan's juniors became excited. It seemed like their brother-in-law was quite extraordinary. At the very least, big sister Yuexin wouldn't have to suffer anymore. Of course, These people definitely wouldn't have thought that the middle-aged man was someone who could make the entire small western sky region tremble with a stomp of his feet. In fact, Lin Feng didn't know what position this guy held in the Western Sky Immortal sect, but it should be quite extraordinary. Did your master come out to deal with some matters? Lin Feng looked at the middle-aged man and asked. The middle-aged man sat on the stool and said carefully, Master didn't come out to deal with matters. He just came out of seclusion not long ago. So he came out to walk around and relax. Lin Feng said, It seems like Brother Zhang is quite open-minded. Actually, walking around more is also good for your cultivation. Yes, 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 young master's teachings are right. Master also taught us the same. The middle-aged cultivator quickly nodded. When Shui Zaheo and the others heard Lin Feng talking to the middle-aged cultivator and even talking about cultivation, they couldn't help but have a strange feeling in their hearts. As for who this Brother Zhang that Lin Feng mentioned was, they didn't know. However, since that Brother Zhang was this middle-aged cultivator's master, he should be a very old person, right? Could it be that his brother-in-law and this middle-aged man's master were friends despite the difference in age? So this middle-aged man respected his brother-in-law so much? Everyone thought about it carefully and found that this made sense. After all, in the world of cultivators, there were indeed many friends despite the difference in age. While Lin Feng was chatting with the middle-aged man, Lin Feng suddenly realized something. Zhang Long and Su Yiru had already arrived outside the Supreme Box on the 10th floor. Those lackeys naturally didn't have the qualifications to come up. Su Yiru carefully followed Zhang Long into the private room. She raised her head and peeked inside. Immediately, he saw many important figures. For example, the dragon-subduing sect's peak masters. They were the dragon-subduing sect's grand elders and vice-sect heads. Seated in the middle was a middle-aged man with a very imposing aura. That middle-aged man was none other than the dragon-subduing sect's sect master. Although Su Yiru had joined the dragon-subduing sect for quite a few years, she had only seen the portrait of the dragon-subduing sect's sect head. She had never seen the dragon-subduing sect's sect head in person. Obviously, today was the gathering of the upper echelons of the dragon-subduing sect. Ordinary disciples didn't have the qualifications to come over. The reason why Zhang Long was able to come over was because Zhang Long's grandfather was the peak master of the dragon-subduing sect's Heaven Gaze Peak. His status was only below the sect master, a few vice-sect masters, and a few grand elders. They belonged to the upper echelons of the dragon-subduing sect. In fact, not to mention ordinary disciples, even ordinary elders were not qualified to enter the box. Sui Ro was even less qualified. But now that she was following Zhang Long, she was able to see these big shots. This greatly satisfied Sui Ro's vanity. Disciple Zhang Long greets the sect master, vice-sect master, elders, and peak masters. Zhang Long bowed to everyone. Su Yiru didn't dare to say anything. She only knelt on the ground with Zhang Long. She didn't even dare to raise her head, fearing that she would commit a taboo. However, those big shots didn't pay any attention to Zhang Long and Su Yiru. Zhang Long's grandfather waved his hand, causing Zhang Long to jump in fright. He hurriedly stood up. The old man and Su Yiru walked to the left. There were quite a few young elites there. Vice-Sect Master Wang Zhangping said, Lord Sect Master, this subordinate reckons that it's about time. Should we go and welcome that big shot from the Western Heaven Immortal Sect? The dragon-subduing sect's sect master was called Qin Fulong. He said, There's no need to specially send people to welcome him. You all don't understand his character. He hates this kind of complicated ceremony the most. If he sees a large group of us going out to welcome him, he will definitely be extremely unhappy. I heard that that big shot was good friends with Lord Sect Master when they were young. I wonder if the rumors are true? A Grand Elder asked curiously. Qin Fulong nodded. That's right. We were good friends back then. Even after so many years, we still keep in contact. Another Grand Elder said, I heard that he has already broken through to the quasi-true immortal realm. Yes. Qin Fulong smiled and said, This good friend of mine has extraordinary talent. In addition, his master, Zhang Wentian, is a true immortal realm expert. Therefore, it might not be long before this good friend of mine can break through to the true immortal realm. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. True immortals were different from each other. For example, those true immortals who sealed themselves in divine stones and then walked out of them were restricted by the laws of heaven and earth. Their potential was far inferior to those cultivators who had broken through to the true immortal realm in this era. If they broke through to the true immortal realm in this era, their future achievements would definitely be limitless. Those juniors couldn't help but feel excited. They knew that the big shot that the upper echelons of the sects were talking about was a big shot from the Western Heaven Immortal sect. If they could catch the eye of this big shot from the Western Heaven Immortal sect, they might be able to follow that big shot to cultivate in the Western Heaven Immortal sect. Compared to the Western Heaven Immortal sect, the dragon-subduing sect was not even worth mentioning. The foundation of those peak forces was simply unimaginable. Therefore, everyone was looking forward to the arrival of that big shot. Right at this moment, knocking sounds could be heard from outside. "Come in," one of the vice sect masters said. Following that, an elder walked in. That elder bowed to the upper echelons and then quickly walked over to Qin Fulong. Then, he whispered something into Qin Fulong's ear. "What? Is what you said true?" Hearing that, Qin Fulong stood up. His face was filled with disbelief. The rest of the people were shocked. Their sect master, who had always been expressionless. Why would he reveal such an expression? Obviously, at this moment, Qin Fulong had somewhat lost his composure. Something big must have happened, or else their sect master would definitely not reveal such an expression. But what exactly had happened? Everyone was unsure. "Bring me to take a look." Qin Fulong looked at the elder beside him and said. That elder hurriedly nodded. He led the way in front, and Qin Fulong didn't have time to explain anything to everyone. Instead, he hurriedly followed behind that elder and headed outside. The other vice sect masters, grand elders, peak masters, and many other disciples were also shocked. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.